Chapter 585. Everyone entered the courtyard and saw a group of disciples sitting on small stools that had been neatly arranged in the courtyard. The medicine boys who were playing music to welcome them also followed in and stood behind the disciples. Zhang Xiaohua took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and quietly slipped down the wall and sat behind the medicine boys. Lu Lihong sat in the middle of the high platform in the yard, accompanied by Chen Fengxiao and Wu Zhouxiu. Yan Yao and a dozen other people sat slightly behind him. When everyone was seated, Chen Fengxiao picked up a teacup and invited Lu Lihong to drink. He then said to the disciples below the stage, "Fellow junior brothers, I believe you all know that the person on the stage is the pride of our Pill Repository Hall. He is also an outstanding disciple of the Wuming Hall, junior brother Lu Lihong. I don't need to go into details about his experience. The most well-known thing is that as a disciple of the Grass Division of our Pill Repository Hall, he passed the Outer Disciple Assessment and successfully entered the Wuming Hall. He became an elite compound disciple that was highly valued by the Wuming Hall. I know that you have admired junior brother Lu for a long time, so you united with Wu Daolan of the Pill Department to invite junior brother Lu. You all know that junior brother Lu is very busy in Wuming Hall. He not only has to shoulder his own responsibilities in Wuming Hall, but also some tasks that other disciples can't complete. That is to use his experience as a disciple of Pill Expanding Hall to share the responsibilities of herbs and elixirs. Therefore, junior brother Lu can take time out of his busy schedule to come to Tianmu Peak and guide the work of the Grass Department and Pill Department of our Pill Expanding Hall. For this, I would like to express our deep gratitude on behalf of everyone. Well, let's give the time to our long-awaited junior brother Lu to talk about his growth experience in Pill Expanding Hall and his struggle in Wuming Hall." Before Chen Fengxiao's voice died away, there was a thunderous applause from below the platform. Lu Lihong stood up and modestly said, "Senior brother Chen is too serious. I don't have much experience, only some thoughts that I want to share with everyone. This is something that can be replicated. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, or maybe a few years later, one of the juniors here will pass the examination and walk beside me." As he spoke, he turned his head to look at Chen Fengxiao and said, "Actually, to be honest, you have a very good template beside you. As far as I know, senior brother Chen also fought like me in the past. It's just that senior brother Chen wasn't as lucky as me. As for me, I just passed by luck." Chen Fengxiao immediately waved his hand and said, "Don't. A defeated general doesn't need to be brave. If what junior marshal brother Lu said is true, many of us here can learn from him. For example, Wu Daolang, junior marshal brother Zhou, and the others." When Wu Zhouxiu and the others heard this, they also nodded with a smile. Lu Lihong saw this and smiled. "Yes, that's right. Actually, there are things in this world that are difficult and easy. If you do it, the difficulties will be easy. If you don't do it, the difficulties will be difficult. Junior marshal brother isn't talented, but I'm willing to combine the insights of the past 10 years with these philosophies to share with everyone." With that, Lu Lihong continued to speak with assurance on the high platform. He truly had the bearing of a grandmaster. Zhang Xiaohua hid behind many apprentices and didn't release her divine sense. She just closed her eyes and listened. Although Lu Lihong's words were very right, and some of them even touched Zhang Xiaohua's heart, she just couldn't listen. It was like a very funny voice. Every time she heard it, it was very pleasant to listen to. Of course, Lu Lihong's sanctimonious patrolling appearance would appear in Zhang Xiaohua's mind. "Tisk." Involuntarily, Zhang Xiaohua muttered, "What you say can't compare to what you say. How can you convince me?" In fact, the most important thing was that everyone in the Pill Tower Hall described Lu Lihong as a rare genius in hundreds of years. Not only was he proficient in medicinal herbs and pills, he was also proficient in martial arts. However, in Zhang Xiaohua's eyes, this was just a child's play. That day, Lu Lihong swindled the dragon scale fruit and used his qinggong to leave. Zhang Xiaohua was secretly surprised in her heart that this patrolling disciple's qinggong was so poor. Now that she thought about it, qinggong required internal strength. Although Lu Lihong was talented, his internal strength cultivation was half a beat slower than others. Therefore, in terms of qigong, he was very lacking. Since this was the case, how could Zhang Xiaohua take him seriously? Then how could she take his words to heart? Of course, there was another point. Although Zhang Xiaohua acted in a low-key manner, she was after all an 18-year-old young man. Deep in her heart, there was a kind of pride. She saw that the person in front of her was obviously inferior to her, but received much more praise than she did. She could pinch him to death with one finger, but she could not show it. It was like casting pearls before swine. Naturally, she had a feeling of injustice. Isn't it just because you don't have a recommendation? If the disciples of the Pill Tower Hall knew my methods, how could you have a place? Haha, it seemed that even Qi practitioners of the Celestial Way could not help but have the resentment of. Man fights for a breath, Buddha receives a stick of incense. However, Zhang Xiaohua forgot that if he used his methods, not only would the Pill Tower Hall be shocked, but the whole incense cult would be shocked as well. Yes, the whole Jianghu would be shocked. Did he dare to show off? At this time, Lu Lihong on the stage said a few words. Refining pills? You just need to calm your mind. Zhang Xiaohua slapped her forehead and jumped up from the ground. Oh no, why am I wasting time here with them? It's just a so-called report. It's not like I want to see them. My furnace of bone condensation pills is more important. Who wants to listen to his nagging? Oh, right, how can this guy refine pills? Didn't they say that grass sect disciples can't lend out their pill rooms? However, in a hurry, Zhang Xiaohua did not have time to think carefully. She released her divine sense. Seeing that no one was paying attention to her, she made a hand seal and directly escaped. She did not show her head and directly went to the pill room at the top of the mountain. Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation of the Imperial Wind technique was not good, but she was very good at escaping through the earth. Not long after, she returned to the pill room. The first thing she did when she entered the pill room was to use her divine sense to explore the pill furnaces. She saw that the 10 or so medicinal liquids in the 8 formations were slowly rotating, and from time to time, impurities like flying ash would be extracted. Only then did Zhang Xiaohua feel relieved. When Zhang Xiaohua sat down, she was slightly amused. Although the bone condensation pill was precious, it was still a low-level pill. She had successfully refined the Meridian Soothing Pill the first time. Although this was the first time she had used the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace, it had been refined and was different from the one in Rejuvenation Valley. If there was a connection between her mind and blood, there would not be too big of a difference. Her worries were a bit unnecessary. Since there were no problems with the bone condensation pill, Zhang Xiaohua was in no hurry to return to the mountainside. Although Lu Lihong's report was good, it did not interest Zhang Xiaohua in the slightest. There was no reason for her to waste her time there. Zhang Xiaohua made a hand seal and floated up. Unexpectedly, she was cultivating the Imperial Wind technique in the pill room again. After an unknown amount of time, she gradually made some progress with the Imperial Wind technique. Zhang Xiaohua landed on the ground to rest for a while. However, she immediately thought of the banquet at the mountainside and knew something was wrong. She turned around and left. Sure enough, when Zhang Xiaohua arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, the high platform had been demolished. The stools on the ground were long gone. Under the bright lights, there were more than 10 square tables. Many delicacies had already been placed on the tables. The disciples were all eating and drinking. The young medicine apprentices, who looked like they had worked the hardest, were nowhere to be seen. It was unknown where they had been sent. In the main hall of the courtyard, there were also 4 large round tables. Lu Lihong sat at the head, accompanied by Chen Feng Xiao and Wu Zhouxiu. Below him were great guardian warrior Zhou Shuming, great Arhat Lu Fengming, and the others. At the table next to him was Yan Yao, who was also accompanied by several guardian warriors and arhats. The other 2 tables were also occupied by the other members of the pill and grass divisions. At this time, Lu Lihong's face was red from drinking. He raised his wine cup and said something to Chen Feng Xiao. Yan Yao was also the same. Although he was not sitting at the head table, it seemed that there was nothing wrong with it. This made Zhang Xiaohua a little puzzled. The pill-expanding hall and Wuming Hall of the fragrance cult were the same. Why did the disciples of the pill-expanding hall feel inferior to Wuming Hall? Could it be because Wuming Hall was an outer disciple? But thinking back to that time in the Misty School, He Tianshu, as a disciple of the pill-expanding hall, seemed to be the same as the other disciples. Seeing that everyone had their own seats, it seemed that there was no need for him to appear. Zhang Xiaohua had the intention to return to the top of the mountain. He was not sure whether Yang Yao came to Tianmu Peak to see him, or not. If he went up for no reason, what if Yang Yao gave him a cold shoulder? Wouldn't that be very embarrassing? And he remembered that on the way to the fragrance cult, Yang Yao repeatedly told him not to let the people of the pill-expanding hall know that he was taking care of him. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaohua was about to leave. At this time, a voice sounded. "Junior brother, please wait." Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. He turned around and saw an unfamiliar disciple running from afar, sweating profusely. When he saw Zhang Xiaohua's face, his face lit up and he said, "Junior brother Ren, it's really you. Where did you go?" After Senior Brother Lu's report, Headmaster Chen asked Senior Brother Bai and us to look for you. But we couldn't find you in the entire courtyard. Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Senior Brother. I went to the inner courtyard to look for clothes, but I got lost. I just came out from the back. I'm regretting that I didn't hear Senior Brother Lu's report." Then you lost a lot, Senior Brother Lu." This Senior Brother Zhang Xiaohua had never met, was about to say something, but he was interrupted by a call. When Zhang Xiaohua looked up, wasn't it Bai Huan? He saw that Bai Huan's face was also covered in sweat. She hurriedly walked over and said, "We finally found Junior Brother Rin. Headmaster Chen ordered us to let you in quickly. Let's go." "Oh, why haven't you changed your clothes?" Zhang Xiaohua spread his hands and said, "I couldn't find the inner courtyard, so I couldn't find my clothes." "Then what should we do? Why don't I take you to the inner courtyard to change your clothes?" Bai Huan didn't know what to do at the moment. -3. Chapter 586. Zhang Xiaohua didn't bother to change her clothes. She just smiled and said, "Forget it, Senior Brother Bai. He's just meeting a former senior brother of our sect. Why do you have to be like this?" Bai Huan argued. "But this is Senior Brother Lu Lihong. He's different from others. Besides, Headmaster Chen has also instructed me." "Forget it, then I'd better go back to the top of the mountain." Zhang Xiaohua pretended to leave. Bai Huan immediately grabbed Zhang Xiaohua's clothes and said anxiously, "How can you do that?" Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua didn't want to change into new clothes, the disciple next to her came up with an idea and said, "How about this, Junior Brother Bai? Just say that you haven't found clothes suitable for Junior Brother Ren. That works?" Bai Huan was a little dumbfounded. Zhang Xiaohua nodded repeatedly. "This works, absolutely." "Okay then." Bai Huan helplessly walked into the courtyard with Zhang Xiaohua. At the banquet, Yang Yao was listening attentively to what Zhang Xiaohua was saying. From time to time, he squinted his eyes and nodded frequently. When he was talking, he couldn't help but applaud. At this moment, he looked up and saw Bai Huan walking in with Zhang Xiaohua. His eyes immediately lit up and the smile on his face became wider. He stared at the slowly approaching Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua had been looking at the banquet. When she saw Yang Yao looking at her, she also smiled and nodded at Yang Yao. Although she was behind Bai Huan, her footsteps quickened. After entering the hall, Bai Huan went to Chen Fengxiao. At this time, Chen Fengxiao was holding a wine glass, accompanied by Wu Zhouxiu. He was talking to Lu Lihong with his head lowered. Bai Huan whispered, Headmaster Chen, I've found Ren Xiaoyao." "Well, why did it take so long? Where did he go?" Chen Fengxiao frowned and looked up unhappily. However, before Bai Huan could explain, Chen Fengxiao said to Zhang Xiaohua, who was behind Bai Huan, in a clear voice, "Little brother, come here quickly. Let me introduce you." Before he could finish his words, his expression changed slightly. He saw Zhang Xiaohua enter the hall. She smiled and nodded slightly at Chen Feng, then turned around and walked towards Yang Yao. When she arrived in front of him, she bowed deeply and said, "Marshal Uncle Yang, long time no see. Are you well?" Zhang Xihua's actions were out of the expectations of all the disciples in the hall. Not to mention Chen Feng Xiao, even Yang Yao was caught off guard. Yang Yao hurriedly got up and helped Zhang Xiahua up. "Marshal Niece Ren, you're too polite. We've only been apart for a dozen days. Everything is fine." Then, he took Zhang Xiaohua's hand and came to the main table. "Come, let me introduce you to our distinguished guest of the Pill Repository Hall. He's also a senior of the Rejuvenation Valley. He's now a famous outer disciple of the Wuming Hall, senior brother Lu Lihong." Lu Lihong was talking to Chen Feng Xiao just now, so he did not notice anything. It was not until Zhang Xiahua walked into the hall and Chen Feng Xiao introduced her that he clearly saw Zhang Xiaohua's face. In an instant, his expression changed slightly, but it soon returned to normal. He was also surprised when he saw Zhang Xiahua walk over to greet Yang Yao. His eyes revealed a look of interest. Now that Yang Yao introduced her, he hurriedly got up. His face flushed with surprise again, and he said, "Oh, this is the new medicine apprentice of the fragrant cult this year. Ha ha, I've long heard of him, but I didn't expect to see him today. It's really better to see once than to hear 100 times. Then, he took Zhang Xiaohua's hand affectionately, as if he had never seen her before. Zhang Xiahua pulled her hand away and saluted again. "So it's senior brother Lu. I've long heard of your great name. Now that I see you, I admire you even more. You're just like your name, extraordinary, extraordinary." Chen Feng Xiao, who was standing to the side, secretly gave Zhang Xiahua a thumbs up in his heart. This is a real man who doesn't forget his roots. Then, he patted Zhang Xiaohua's shoulder and said, "This is also the most talented medicine apprentice of our Tianmu Peak in recent years. Although he's still young, he vaguely has the demeanor of junior brother Lu in the past." Lu Lihong looked at Zhang Xiahua and said with a smile, "That's right. Junior brother Ren is the prospective son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley's Valley Master Nia. How can his martial arts be lacking?" When he said this, Chen Feng Xiao and the rest frowned slightly. Even the other disciples in the main hall had strange expressions on their faces. The way they looked at Zhang Xiahua had changed. Everyone naturally knew that Zhang Xiahua came from Rejuvenation Valley. However, the fact that he was the son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley was considered a secret. It wasn't suitable for many people to know about it. Of course, he was different from ordinary medicine apprentices. The others also knew about this. However, they also knew what they should know and what they shouldn't know. Therefore, they wouldn't ask at all. Now that Lu Lihong had said it in front of them, he directly broke the window paper. How could they not see Zhang Xiahua in a new light? As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Lihong's face was full of regret. His expression changed faster than flipping a book. He slapped his own mouth and said, "Io, junior brother Ren, look at me. I've lost my virtue after drinking. Please forgive me." In fact, Zhang Xiahua didn't care about this. She hurriedly smiled and said, "Senior brother Lu is really a person who knows everything. This little secret of mine is known by senior brother from Wuming Hall. I really admire you." Zhang Xiahua didn't care, but Yang Yao couldn't not care. He was the one who brought Zhang Xiahua from Rejuvenation Valley. Therefore, he looked at Chen Feng Xiao and Wu Zhouxiu as if nothing had happened. The two of them also understood and said with a smile, "Although junior brother Lu is now an outer disciple of Wuming Hall, he used to call us brothers in Pill Expanding Hall. Since we are brothers, we naturally speak behind closed doors. Only we brothers know about junior brother Lu's drunken words just now. If others know about it then..." Before they finished speaking, everyone already knew what they meant. Naturally, they wouldn't let them finish their words. Zhou Shaming and the others raised their cups and said, "Headmaster Chen and Wu Dalong, don't worry. Even if the walls have ears, we brothers will cut off those ears. Come, cheers." Lu Lihong also raised his cup and said, "Come, junior brother Ren, senior brother apologizes to you." This Zhang Xiaohua was a little hesitant. Chen Fengxiao, who was next to her, hurriedly explained. Junior brother Lu, please don't blame us. Junior brother Rin is still young and can't drink wine. Why don't we substitute tea for wine? Lu Lihong said with a smile. Junior brother Rin is taller than me when standing in front of me. How can he be young? Come, you must drink wine. Only then can you be a real man and a real son-in-law. These words were a little vulgar, but they were exactly what the others were thinking. Zhou Shuming and the others all roared with laughter. When Zhang Xiaohua heard this, she smiled and said, Since senior brother Lu insists on letting me drink a cup, I can't be ungrateful to senior brother. However, this is the first time I've drunk wine. How about this cup? Lu Lihong said with a smile. Of course, of course. As long as junior brother Rin gives me face, it's fine. Zhang Xiaohua picked up a wine cup from the table and raised it in front of her chest. Lu Lihong said, Okay. Then he drank it in one gulp, and the others followed suit. Although the Pill Tower Hall's wine wasn't as good as Rejuvenation Valley's 100 Flowers wine, it was still considered an excellent wine. It tasted much better than the Xian Ronggang's wine. However, Zhang Xiaohua only drank one cup and didn't drink more. She had already asked for one cup, and Lu Lihong had also agreed. After a few failed attempts to persuade her to drink, everyone didn't force her and sat down. Chen Fengxiao originally wanted Zhang Xiaohua to sit beside him so that she could be closer to Lu Lihong. However, Zhang Xiaohua said that she had some private matters to discuss with Yang Yao, so she only sat beside Yang Yao. Chen Fengxiao saw that Lu Lihong only picked up a pair of chopsticks and didn't force him. He followed Wu Zhouxiu and continued to accompany Lu Lihong to drink and chat. When Zhang Xiaohua sat down, Yang Yao's face was filled with joy. He said in a low voice, Martial nephew Rin, when I sent you to this place, I was worried for many days. Later on, I met the hall master and specially reported to him that I wanted to transfer you back to White Mountain Peak. However, there were some difficulties involved, so I couldn't do it. But now, it seems that Martial nephew Rin is like a fish in water here. You're living a free and unfettered life. This makes me feel very gratified and relieved. I was still worried that I would mistreat you and fail to live up to Brother Nye's trust. Gosh, Zhang Xiaohua silently cursed. I've been branded with Rejuvenation Valley's brand. I reckon I won't be able to get rid of the title of son-in-law. However, Yang Yao's words were very sincere and must have come from the bottom of his heart. Zhang Xiaohua picked up the teacup and said, I can't drink wine. I'll use tea in place of wine. Thank you for your concern, martial uncle. Good, good. Yang Yao smiled and raised his cup. He drank a cup and looked at Zhang Xiaohua with relief, saying, I heard from you that you displayed great prowess the moment you arrived at Tianmu Peak. You won 3 matches in a row and even defeated martial nephew Zhou in Qigong. I didn't expect martial nephew Ren's martial arts to be so powerful. It's far beyond my expectations. How could Zhang Xiaohua admit to it? She only smiled and said, Martial uncle thinks too highly of me. This was all due to Headmaster Chen's arrangements. I was only very lucky to achieve such a result. Moreover, it was my first time at Tianmu Peak and my senior martial brothers were not familiar with it. That was why I lost. If we compete again in the future, I won't be so lucky and can only lower my head and admit defeat. Haha, martial nephew is still young. There's still room for improvement in the future. There's no need to fuss over a temporary victory or defeat. Yan Yao comforted. Oh yes, I heard that you changed all your elixirs to medicinal herbs. Why did you do that? Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua gave a long sigh and said, Sigh, martial uncle, please don't mention this matter. Every time you mention this matter, I regret it. You also know that I came from a small sect in Jianghu and have not seen much of the world. I only know that aged medicinal herbs are precious. No matter how many elixirs I have, I won't be able to use them all. Why not exchange them for medicinal herbs? Only after I changed them did I realize that in our pill repository hall, medicinal herbs are like weeds. I still have many medicinal herbs left in a small courtyard. After listening to Zhang Xiaohua's confession, Yang Yao smiled and said, "All the new alchemy apprentices are like this. When they see a medicinal herb, they treat it like a treasure. In fact, they don't know that this kind of herb is everywhere. You are also new here, so you will slowly learn about it in the future. However, exchanging medicinal herbs with medicinal pills, you have suffered a great loss." At this point, Lu Lihong said, "Junior Brother Ren, I misspoke after drinking and now I regret it. Can you give me a chance to deal with your herbs as an apology?" -3. Chapter 587. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua was stunned and stared at Lu Lihong for dozens of seconds. "What does this person mean? Just now you were so obvious about my origin, and now you want to immediately remedy it? Moreover, this medicinal herb is useless in the hands of others, but in my hands, it's something much more precious than a medicinal pill. How can I let you steal my treasure and owe you a favor? How can I let everyone praise you? Oh right, speaking of snatching my stuff, this guy snatched my dragon scale fruit the first time we met, and now he's still thinking about other herbs. Yes, absolutely not." Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua was silent, Lu Lihong smiled warmly and said, "What? Junior Brother Ren doesn't want to give me face?" Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, No, these herbs are annoying me to death. I can't throw them away, but I can't keep them either. If Senior Brother Lu can help me solve them, that would be the best. But Senior Brother Lu, I understand Junior Brother Ren's meaning. I also know that Junior Brother Ren showed off his invincible strength and won 3 battles. Speaking of which, I have also heard about the battles on Tianmu Peak. But when I was in the Pill Formation Hall, I was always in the White Mountain Peak. Later on, when I entered the outer sect, I went to the Wuming Hall and had no chance to come to Tianmu Peak. Now that I heard Junior Brother's spirit in the battles, I couldn't help but feel itchy. How about this? I will take out." Without waiting for Lu Lihong to finish, Zhang Xiaohua interrupted him and said with a surprised expression, "What? Senior Brother Lu wants to take out 150 taels of gold to exchange for herbs with me?" Ahem. Lu Lihong's face flushed red, but it was covered by alcohol and couldn't be seen. He awkwardly said, "Junior Brother Ren is very generous and won 150 taels of gold in one go. But Junior Brother thinks, even Headmaster Chen and Wu Dalong don't have that much gold. How can a poor outer sect disciple like me have that much gold?" Zhang Xihua's face was full of disappointment, but her eyes were full of eagerness. She said, "It's fine if you don't have gold. Even if it's 150 taels of gold, Junior Brother is willing to exchange." Lu Lihong almost choked when he heard Zhang Xiaohua mention 150 gold taels. He clenched his teeth and finally resisted the urge to go berserk. He maintained his amiable tone. "Little brother is really a bit greedy. Of course, this is the nature of a man. Haha, but since little brother didn't get the 150 gold taels pill that day and instead exchanged it for some worthless herbs, then these herbs can't be counted as 150 gold taels. Sigh, isn't this nonsense? I know you can't take it out, so I'm forcing you." Zhang Xihua's heart was beating rapidly, and then she pretended to be puzzled and said, "Then Senior Brother Lu's meaning is?" Lu Lihong was speechless, and he snappily said, "I understand Junior Brother Ren's feelings, but you have to wait for me to make things clear." Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "It's Junior Brother's fault, Junior Brother's fault. Senior Brother Lu, please explain clearly." Chen Feng smiled and toasted Lu Lihong with a cup of wine. Lu Lihong then said slowly, "I've been looking forward to Tianmu Peak's gambling match for a long time, but I've never had the chance to participate. Now that I'm an Outer Sanctum disciple, I'm even more helpless. Now that I've met Junior Brother Ren, I can't help but be secretly delighted. Why don't we use Junior Brother Ren's medicinal herbs as the stakes and have a gambling match? Although I can't officially participate in Tianmu Peak's gambling match, if I can compete with Junior Brother Ren, I'll have no regrets in life." "What? Have no regrets in this life?" Zhang Xihua's head was full of black lines, and she secretly said, It's better to die without regrets. Hearing this, the people around them were slightly shocked. After all, Lu Lihong was an outer disciple, and a disciple who had fought his way out of the Dan opening hall. His martial arts were obviously superior to the other disciples of the Dan opening hall. Now, he wanted to compete with Zhang Xiaohua, who had just joined the Dan opening hall. Wasn't this an adult playing with a child? But then, everyone came to a realization. Didn't he just say that he wanted to make up for his previous mistakes, and help Zhang Xiaohua recover some of her losses? As a result, Lu Lihong's image in everyone's hearts was a bit higher than before. If possible, Chen Fengxiao wanted to hold another advance report. Yes, if possible, I'll record it in the Grass Division's journal. The title will be Senior Brother of the Dan Opening Hall Guides Junior Brother Later, Highlights Grass Division's Unity and Friendship. Chen Fengxiao thought excitedly. Zhang Xihua's face was also excited, and she cried out, "Oh, that's great! But Senior Brother Lu, what kind of pill will you use for the bet?" But then, she said somewhat dejectedly, "But Senior Brother Lu's martial arts are so high, how can I be your opponent?" Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua agreed, Lu Lihong took out a jade bottle from his bosom, and said, "This is a Yuhuandan pill that I occasionally got from the hall leader. Although it's not much, it can be considered rare in the outer sect. I don't know if Junior Brother Ren thinks it's suitable." This? Zhang Xiaohua didn't know how to answer. To be honest, she didn't want to exchange at all, not to mention that she still had 4 Yuhuandan pill in her bosom. Zhang Xiaohua didn't say anything, but the people around them were in an uproar. Thinking back to that day at Zhoushu, the Yuhuandan pill was already worth 30 taels of gold for Zhang Xiaohua, let alone the real thing. Especially Chen Fengxiao, his eyes almost reached out a hand. He understood that Zhang Xiaohua didn't know much about the Yuhuandan pill of the Chuanxiang cult, so it was impossible for her to understand the importance of this Yuhuandan pill. So, if Zhang Xiaohua won and exchanged a pile of useless herbs for this Yuhuandan pill, that was even more precious than gold. It was hard to say who would get the Yuhuandan pill, in the end. Well, there was nothing hard to say. Chen Fengxiao was the head of the grass department at Tianmu Peak, so this Yuhuandan pill would definitely fall into his hands. Zhang Xiaohua was just a medicine boy with an unstable foundation. Even if he was strong in martial arts, how could he be a match for the 6 great Luohan and Chen Fengxiao? Besides, Chen Fengxiao was best at using the carrot and stick. He could use other pills to exchange with Zhang Xiaohua. In a flash, Chen Fengxiao thought a lot. He turned to look at Wu Zhoushu, who had the same expression, and exchanged information in a flash. Last time when Chen Fengxiao took the Yuhuandan pill, Wu Zhoushu's heart was still bleeding. Wouldn't this Yuhuandan pill make up for the grievances between them? Suitable, why not? Chen Fengxiao immediately took over the conversation. He patted Zhang Xihua's shoulder with a smile and said, "Little brother, you have been worrying about these herbs. What do you think our pill-expanding hall does? These herbs are no different from useless herbs. Junior Brother Lu is so benevolent that Junior Brother Ren is so happy that he doesn't know what to say." Zhang Xiaohua sighed and said, "But how can I be a match for Senior Brother Lu? If I go on the field, I will be beaten down in a few moves. I might as well not go on the field." Chen Fengxiao would not allow him to slack off. He also frowned and said to Lu Lihong, "Junior Brother Ren is right. Junior Brother Lu is an outer disciple. In Jianghu, he is a first-class master. He is more than 2 levels higher than Junior Brother Ren. This is easy," Lu Lihong said proudly. "Tomorrow, I will only use 1 hand and 1 foot. If I use the other hand and 1 foot, I will lose." "Good!" Chen Fengxiao slapped the table and stood up. He raised his wine cup and said, "Junior Brother Lu's heroic spirit alone is enough for me to drink with you. Admirable, such a master's demeanor." It seemed that the one to go on the field was Head Master Chen. After Lu Lihong drank the wine, Zhang Xiaohua said weakly, "Thank you for your help, Senior Apprentice Brother Lu. So the bet is my pile of herbs and Senior Apprentice Brother's jade rejuvenation pill?" "Yes, it is." Lu Lihong nodded. Senior brother Lu will use one hand and one foot against me. If I use one more hand or one foot, I will lose. Of course. Lu Lihong nodded again. Oh, then if I win, this pile of herbs will be senior brother Lu's. If I lose, this pill will be mine? Yes, that's it. Lu Lihong was a bit impatient. Zhang Xiaohua was overjoyed and said, Thank you, senior brother Lu. You're welcome, you're welcome. Lu Lihong waved his hand and said, Just now. But halfway through his words, he saw the eyes of the people around him. He recalled what he said just now and realized. He waved his hand even harder and explained, I was wrong, I was wrong. Zhang Xiaohua said with a smile. It's all right, senior brother Lu. We're all brothers behind closed doors. There's no need to pay attention to a gentleman keeps his word. Lu Lihong didn't know if Zhang Xiaohua was using words or if she had other intentions. However, he didn't dare to take her words seriously. If Zhang Xiaohua won, the herbs would be Lu Lihong's. If Zhang Xiaohua lost, the pills would be Zhang Xiaohua's. No matter what, Zhang Xiaohua had an advantage. Lu Lihong was in a bit of a dilemma. At this moment, Zhang Xiaohua burst into laughter again. He raised his teacup and said, I'm just joking. Senior brother Lu, let me toast you. If I win, these herbs will be senior brother Lu's and the pills will be mine. If I lose, the herbs will still be mine and the pills will still be senior brother Lu's. This time, Lu Lihong didn't dare to casually agree. After thinking for a moment, he smiled and said, Junior brother Rin is really naughty. Okay, let's do as junior brother Rin said. Let's drink this cup and start the bet tomorrow morning. Alright, I hope that little brother will still have good luck tomorrow. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and drank the tea. However, he immediately said, It's already late today, and senior marshal brother Lu needs to rest well tomorrow. Why don't we move the bet to the afternoon? Qin Feng Xiao and Wu Zhouxu looked at each other and said, Junior brother Rin is right. If junior brother Lu has no objections, then let's do it this way. Lu Lihong naturally didn't have any objections. This is my first time participating in a gambling fight, so I'll follow your rules. After the discussion was settled, everyone sat down to drink and drink. Yang Yao asked about Zhang Xiaohua's recent situation in a low voice. -3. Chapter 588. Looking at Yan Yao's intentions, it seemed that he really valued his relationship with Rejuvenation Valley's valley head Nia. He wanted to transfer Zhang Xiaohua back to the pill-expanding hall at the White Yifeng Peak and point the way for Zhang Xiaohua to become an outer disciple. But how could Zhang Xiaohua be willing? First of all, the pill room at the top of Tianmu Peak was the best place to practice and refine pills. Once she moved to the White Yifeng Peak, it was a question whether there would still be such a pill room. Therefore, Zhang Xiaohua didn't want to move for the time being. Moreover, what kind of place was the White Yifeng Peak? That was where the pill-expanding hall was located. There were many eyes, and there were all kinds of schemes. This wasn't a place that Zhang Xiaohua was willing to go. It was better to be free and unfettered on Tianmu Peak. When the time was right, she could travel with the wind and it would be convenient for her to find second brother. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaohua comforted Yang Yao and said that as long as it was a luminous pearl, it would shine no matter where it went. She even brought up the issue of her height in an attempt to persuade Yang Yao. Actually, Yang Yao was just saying. Even if he wanted to transfer Zhang Xiaohua back to the White Yifeng Peak, it was just a thought. He had the heart but was powerless to do so. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua was so sensible, he naturally felt at ease. It was as if a huge stone had been lifted from his heart, and he couldn't help but drink a few more cups. After sitting with her for a while, he saw that it was getting late. Zhang Xiaohua was still refining the medicinal liquid in the pill room. He didn't want to stay any longer and stood up to bid farewell. He wasn't the main character of the banquet, so Qin Feng Xiao and the others didn't stand on ceremony. They only urged him to stay for a while before letting him go. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's back figure walk out of the hall without hesitation, Lu Lihong and Yang Yao, who were drinking with their heads lowered, had different expressions in their eyes. As soon as Zhang Xiaohua walked out of the hall, the noisy courtyard instantly became silent. Zhang Xiaohua was very surprised. Looking around, she didn't find anything unusual. She saw Bai Huan in the corner of the courtyard, eating and drinking at a table. At this time, seeing Zhang Xiaohua come out, she didn't dare to stay for long. Wiping the grease on her lips, she picked up a lantern behind the courtyard door and hurriedly followed him. The path was secluded and he was alone, so he didn't dare to go up and down. As soon as Zhang Xiaohua walked out of the courtyard, there was strange. Strange! Zhang Xiaohua was even more puzzled. He shook his head and walked away. She was Bai Huan, was it? Was Chen? Was it that? Was that? Was that? Was it that I? He was to? It? S to brother run was Yao? Is was master? Pfft. Zhang Xiaohua laughed and said, Senior brother Bai, why are you being so polite? Why is it different from this afternoon? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't worry. Zhang Xiaohua didn't know that Bai Huan took him into the hall. Zhang Xiaohua ignored Lu Lihong and directly greeted Yang Yao. He saw clearly that Lu Lihong was an outer disciple and his idol. In his mind, Lu Lihong was more powerful than Chen Feng Xiao. Zhang Xiaohua actually ignored Lu Lihong, which suddenly made Bai Huan think, Ren Xiaoyou's martial arts are either better than Lu Lihong's, or he has a deep background in the pill-expanding hall. Maybe Rejuvenation Valley is just a cover. Bai Huan didn't know much about martial arts, so he didn't know which of the two possibilities was more realistic. But no matter which one it was, Bai Huan couldn't afford to offend Zhang Xiaohua. Therefore, he unconsciously classified Zhang Xiaohua as someone who could be treated respectfully. Naturally, he spoke very politely. Bai Huan said with a smile, Junior brother Ren, please don't blame me. I have something to ask you. Huh? Zhang Xiaohua asked curiously. What is it? Bai Huan said. Do you remember when I just came to the top of the mountain, I asked you for help? If there's a gambling fight in the future, please let me know first. Tomorrow's gambling fight. Zhang Xiaohua was even more surprised. Senior brother Bai, it was just decided in the hall. How did you know it so soon? Humph, Bai Huan despised him, but he immediately felt that his attitude was not right. He smiled apologetically and said, Junior fellow apprentice, you don't know. When you bravely accepted senior fellow apprentice Lu's challenge in the hall, someone secretly told the brothers in the yard. We quarreled in the yard. Oh, I see. Zhang Xiaohua finally knew why there was an abnormal scene in the yard as soon as he walked out of the hall. Junior brother Ren dared to accept senior brother Lu's challenge, which was praised by the brothers. They all said that junior brother Ren's courage is commendable. Commendable? Zhang Xiaohua figured out the meaning of it, and said with a fake smile. Do the senior brothers all think that I can't beat senior brother Lu? Well, Bai Huan didn't know how to answer. He scratched his head and said, This is what I want to ask you. Do you think I should bet that junior brother Ren will win tomorrow? What if I bet on senior brother Bai? Who do you think you should bet on? Zhang Xiaohua asked with interest. Cough cough, junior brother Ren, please don't blame me. Senior brother Lu is an outer sect disciple. Even head leader Qin is no match for him. If I were to bet, I would definitely bet on senior brother Lu. It's just that, it seems like everyone is betting on senior brother Lu. Even if senior brother Lu wins, there won't be much to gain. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, If I were you, I would also bet on senior brother Lu. Are you sure? Sure. After listening to Zhang Xiaohua's answer, Bai Huan had a plan in his heart and said, In fact, I want to bet on junior brother Ren. If there is an accident, won't I be rich? Alas, I don't know if tomorrow's gambling fight will count as points. Otherwise, I really want to give it a try. Zhang Xiaohua smiled. Last time when she bet on herself, she actually won against everyone. Presumably, there would be many people speculating in tomorrow's gambling fight. But would she let them win? As the two talked, they came to the top of the mountain. It was almost midnight. Bai Huan cupped his hands and said, Junior Brother Ren, rest early. I will call you tomorrow morning. Don't. Zhang Xiaohua waved her hand and said, The gambling fight is arranged in the afternoon, not the morning. I will rest tomorrow morning and prepare well. Come to me afternoon. Arranged in the afternoon? Bai Huan was stunned and immediately nodded. Okay, Junior Brother Ren, rest early. Even if you lose tomorrow, it is pardonable. After all, he is an outer disciple. Hearing that Bai Huan was going to nag again, Zhang Xiaohua quickly said, Okay, Senior Brother Bai, rest early. I will leave the work of the herb field to you tomorrow. After that, she turned and went to the cave. Watching Zhang Xiaohua leave, Bai Huan walked back to his hut helplessly. As he walked, he muttered, Why can't there be an upset? Can't you let me be rich for once? His voice was not loud, but it still reached Zhang Xiaohua's ears. Zhang Xiaohua curled her lips and said, Who doesn't want to be rich? But before you get rich, you should not lose money. Although elixirs are good, they are not as good as herbs. After entering the cave, Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to delay. She set up the restriction and immediately went into the elixir room. She took out the futon and sat cross-legged in front of the elixir furnace. She used her divine sense to check the elixir furnace. Seeing that there was nothing wrong, she was relieved and took out the vitality stones from her arms and began her night routine. Not long after, starlight shone down and shrouded the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. The starlight directly shot into the 8 sealed openings of the elixir furnace, and also into the refining liquid. Everything was the same as the scene when Zhang Xiaohua was refining elixirs in Rejuvenation Valley. It was a quiet night. When she woke up the next day, she saw that the refining liquid was still slowly rotating and there was less dust flying out. Zhang Xiaohua knew that the refining process was about to be completed. She compared it in her heart, and found that it was much faster than the previous elixir furnace. After practicing the fist technique, Zhang Xiaohua returned to the front of the cauldron and waited for a moment. Seeing that the medicinal liquid had almost stopped moving and there were no impurities being quenched, he knew that the quenching stage was completed. Then, he closed his eyes and recalled the unique method of using the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. Only then did he slowly raise his left hand and his fingers moved nimbly, sending one technique after another into the cauldron. Not long after, a small hole flashed in the formation of the cauldron. The medicinal liquid of the iron bone grass that had been quenched in the cauldron earlier came out of the small hole and floated to the center of the cauldron, where it floated motionlessly. Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense swept over the medicinal liquid. Zhang Xiaohua exclaimed in surprise again, and then immersed his divine sense into the medicinal liquid. There was also a faint starlight in the liquid. What's going on? Zhang Xiaohua touched her chin and was puzzled. Is this common in elixir refining? Maybe. This was not the time to think. Moreover, it was Zhang Xiaohua's second time refining a low-level elixir. Maybe when she refined more, she would know the reason. Zhang Xiaohua comforted herself like this and struck the incantation with her left hand again. Not long after, the blackwood fruit liquid in the quaking furnace and the fragrant soulwood liquid in the calming furnace were also integrated into the liquid of the iron bone grass in the center of the elixir furnace. It was a combination of metal, wood, and water. With the experience of refining elixir in the Rejuvenation Valley last time, Zhang Xiaohua was not in a hurry this time. She methodically entered the liquid melting incantation, creating mutual promotion and mutual restraint in the different attributes of the liquid. The liquid that was originally still gradually rotated again as the other two liquid were integrated into it. Gradually, a cycle was formed inside the liquid. And in this cycle, a faint starlight also rotated slightly, as if it was also building something. After a long time, when the liquid of the 3 main ingredients stabilized, Zhang Xiaohua struck the incantation again. The liquid that had been refined in the Kun furnace, Sun furnace, and other formations were also integrated into the liquid one by one according to the mutual restraint of the 5 elements. Every time these liquid were integrated, it would cause the liquid in the center to vibrate and swell. At one point, there were signs of collapse. However, it was all safely passed under the control of Zhang Xiaohua's incantation. When all the liquid was integrated, Zhang Xiaohua struck the last incantation. The 8 trigrams purple gold furnace roared. From the bottom of the rapidly rotating liquid in the center of the elixir furnace, a wisp of light red, true samadhi fire, as thin as hair appeared out of thin air. It wrapped around the liquid that was as big as a head. This was the unique method of the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. -3. Chapter 589. Looking at the light red, true samadhi fire. That was like a tiny dragon circling around the rapidly spinning medicinal liquid and occasionally penetrating it. Zhang Xiaohua wiped the faint sweat on his head and breathed a sigh of relief. When he checked the true qi in his body, he was shocked again. This simple melting of the liquid had consumed almost half of his true qi. Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but sigh again. The cultivation of the qi refining stage was really not worth mentioning. However, he also did not lack of diligent cultivation. It was just that he had only entered the Immortal Tao for a short period of time. He really didn't know when he would be able to cultivate the 18 levels of the mental cultivation method one by one. Sighing, Zhang Xiaohua carefully observed the elixir furnace with his divine sense before returning to the cave. As soon as he returned to the cave, Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. It wasn't that there were any strange people or things in the cave, but standing at the entrance of the cave, the blazing sun hanging high in the sky was already a little to the west. This? Zhang Xiaohua was a little at a loss. When he entered the cave, it was still early in the morning and the rising sun had just shone on the cave. This simple process from the melting of the liquid to the gestation of the elixir took an entire morning? Ouch! Zhang Xiaohua immediately slapped his forehead. It was already past noon. Wasn't the gambling fight between him and Lu Lihong set for this afternoon? Looking at the time, it was about to start. Of course, Zhang Xiaohua immediately put away his panic. This afternoon's gambling fight was originally forced to do something beyond his ability. If he could be late and not have the gambling fight, that would be the best. Unfortunately, his beautiful wish would always be a beautiful bubble. Outside the cave, at a flat area on the cliff, Bai Huan anxiously paced in a small area. There were several times when he wanted to shout loudly, but just as he opened his mouth, he swallowed it back down. Just as he gritted his teeth and was about to walk into the cave, Zhang Xiaohua slowly walked out. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua come out, Bai Huan was like seeing a savior. He quickly walked over, grabbed Zhang Xiaohua's sleeve and complained, "Junior brother, why did you come out so late? Headmaster Chen sent people to urge you many times. I always wanted to call you, but I heard that even people with internal strength are afraid of being disturbed. I didn't dare to. But when I walked to the front of your cave, I couldn't see anything clearly. It was dark inside. I was so anxious that I wanted to jump off the cliff." Zhang Xiaohua was not anxious. He smiled and said, "Senior brother Bai, it's just a gambling fight. It's just an informal gambling fight. Why are you so nervous? It's not time yet, right?" But Bai Huan didn't know how to enlighten this guy who regarded idols as dung. An elite disciple of the outer door wanted to make friends with you and exchange your useless herbs. But you were not in a hurry. You were simply shameless. However, Bai Huan was afraid that he would fail to live up to Headmaster Chen's request. He pulled Zhang Xiaohua's sleeve and rushed down the mountain. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua did not say anything. He just silently used the levitation skill and followed down the mountain. The road down the mountain was very long. But under Bai Huan's deliberate rush, it actually took them half the time yesterday to reach the gambling fight arena. At this time, the gambling fight arena was the same as what Zhang Xiaohua saw last time. It was the same layout, the same judgment, and the same busy betting. The only difference was the fanatical look in the eyes of the disciples. After all, it had been a long time since the last gambling fight. And now, standing in the arena with his hands behind his back and looking up at the floating clouds was their idol. Looking at Lu Lihong in his white robe, standing there elegantly, the eyes of the disciples were full of stars. They did not hesitate at all when they placed their bets. If they did not support him now, when would they? Seeing Zhang Xiaohua running over with Bai Huan, Qin Fengxiao's face was filled with anger. He went up to them and asked, "Junior brother Ren, what's going on? I sent people to invite you again and again. Why don't you give me face?" Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands and said apologetically, "Head Qin, don't worry. Little brother is really sorry. I was adjusting my breathing in the morning and forgot the time. I only just woke up. If you don't believe me, you can ask senior brother Bai." Bai Huan also said anxiously, "Yes, Head Qin, junior brother Ren did not show up at all this morning. Last night, he specially told me that he has to adjust himself well today and fight senior brother Lu in his best condition. You invited him several times, but I did not dare to shout carelessly. I was afraid that junior brother Ren would go crazy." Qin Feng glared at Bai Huan and was about to speak again when he heard a voice beside him. "Eh? Junior brother Ren can adjust his breathing in seclusion at such a young age. His future is really bright and limitless." It was Lu Lihong who had quietly used his qigong to come over. Seeing Lu Lihong approach him without him noticing, Qin Feng was shocked at Lu Lihong's qigong. At the same time, he also had some doubts about Zhang Xiaohua's words. He only smiled and said, "Senior brother Lu, are you sure? I heard that adjusting one's breathing in seclusion is a reflection of one's profound internal strength. Does junior brother Ren have such profound internal strength?" Lu Lihong was also surprised and asked, "Junior brother Ren, don't worry. You're not late. You're just a little bit late. Oh, can you tell me what kind of internal strength you're cultivating?" "Reckless bull's strength," Zhang Xiaohua said without hesitation. "Nonsense, I only know the name of this internal strength. Who else would I talk about if not it?" Lu Lihong was obviously stunned, as if he had never heard of it. He nodded thoughtfully and said, This technique is very powerful just from the name. I vaguely heard from the outer sect masters that it should be a first-class internal strength cultivation method in Jianghu. Not bad, junior brother Ren. You're very lucky to have the opportunity to cultivate such a profound internal strength. I wonder which level junior brother has reached?" Lu Lihong's voice was very loud, as if he was showing off his knowledge. The nearby disciples all nodded as they listened. "Ah?" After listening to Lu Lihong's words, Zhang Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Presumably, this technique that was commonly seen in Jianghu wouldn't be seen by the martial arts masters of Wuming Hall of the incense cult. When Lu Lihong was in Rejuvenation Valley, he was only a medicine boy and didn't cultivate martial arts. He only came into contact with internal strength cultivation methods when he came to the incense cult. Therefore, he didn't know what kind of martial arts the reckless bull's strength was. Not far away, Zhang Xiaohua stole a glance at Yang Yao, who was trying hard to hold back his laughter. He was also looking up to admire the floating clouds. Zhang Xiaohua understood that everything was floating clouds. Therefore, she smiled and said, "Senior brother Lu is wise. I'm not talented and have only just come into contact with this profound internal strength. How could I know the level? I only have a little sense of qi. I don't dare to embarrass myself." Lu Lihong nodded and said, "I'm only a medicine boy of the pill expanding hall. Planting herbs and refining pills are my true profession. It's already good that I'm able to cultivate profound martial arts. If I want to compete with the disciples who practice internal strength from a young age, I'm too far away. Junior brother Ren, you don't need to belittle yourself. Let's fight in a bit and you'll know. Oh, this is related to your herbs. You must try to beat me by half a move." Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, "How can I be senior brother Lu's opponent? I've gained some understanding from practicing reckless bull force over the past few days, and I know that the level of qi in a person's martial arts will directly determine the level of their martial arts. Skills are just support. Your qi is great, and it's not something I can compare to. Even if you only use one hand, I won't be able to reach you." Lu Lihong nodded with an enigmatic expression and said in a senior tone, "Junior brother, you're able to cultivate to this level. It's enough to show that your aptitude is not bad. I think, if you're given enough time and a suitable environment, you'll definitely become an outer disciple in 10 years. When the surrounding disciples heard this, they all looked up at Lu Lihong and gave him a thumbs up from the bottom of their hearts. See, this is the style of a senior brother. At the same time, the way they looked at Zhang Xiaohua was also different. She was someone who had a high chance of becoming an outer disciple. She was a rising star. If they didn't curry favor with her now, when would they? This Lu Lihong really knows how to win people over, Zhang Xiaohua secretly said. She then cupped her hands and said, Thank you for your encouragement, Senior Brother Lu. I'll definitely cultivate diligently, and use Senior Brother Lu as my guiding light on the path of cultivation. I'll climb along the path that Senior Brother Lu has walked. I hope that Senior Brother Lu will guide me more in the future. Lu Lihong nodded and said, Of course, of course. After all, we're both apprentices from the Pill Tower Hall. Yes, we're both from the Rejuvenation Valley. If I don't take care of you, who else can I take care of? Then, let's not fight this time. You can take the herbs and give me the Wandan pill. Won't that be enough? Zhang Xiaohua laughed mischievously. Lu Lihong's body swayed again and again before he finally steadied himself. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, This won't do. The most taboo in martial arts is to reap without sowing. That will cause the foundation to be unstable. If I let you get the pill easily today, you may want to take more shortcuts when you cultivate in the future. The slightest difference can lead to a great error. Maybe my little kindness today will cause an obstacle in your future cultivation. After talking for a long time, he still couldn't give it to her. Chen Feng looked at the sky with a smile and coughed. Junior Brother Lu, it's already late. Let's. Lu Lihong stopped talking, but he still didn't forget to educate Zhang Xiaohua. You must remember what I said today. This is based on my many years of cultivation experience. Zhang Xiaohua deeply bowed and said, Thank you, Senior Brother Lu. He didn't quite understand why the Lu Lihong from last night and today's Lu Lihong didn't seem to have the same attitude. However, looking at his earnest teaching today, he really did seem like an amiable senior brother. His teachings were also to the point and were indeed correct. Although Zhang Xiaohua felt that there was something wrong, he could only nod his head. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua bow, Lu Lihong helped him up and said, Okay, let's not talk about it anymore. Now let me see how your junior brother's martial arts are. Then, he stretched out his right hand and left leg. I will only use this hand and one leg to attack. If the other hand and leg attack, then it's my loss. Okay. Zhang Xiaohua also walked in front of Lu Lihong and took a stance. Senior Brother Lu, please advise me. Lu Lihong stretched out his right hand and said, Junior Brother Rin, please advise me too. You first. Zhang Xiaohua smiled. She took a step forward and used the Big Dipper Divine Fist on Lu Lihong's left shoulder. -3. Chapter 590. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua's fist was about to hit him, Lu Lihong calmly raised his left palm in front of him, blocking the direction of Zhang Xiaohua's fist. Zhang Xiaohua stared blankly and muttered, Didn't you just say? Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua's fist was clearly sluggish and her eyes were filled with doubt, Lu Lihong didn't back down. His left palm didn't move, but the 4 fingers of his right hand clenched and directly struck towards Zhang Xiaohua's wrist. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua immediately understood. This senior martial brother Lu is really crafty. He actually made a fuss about the words. He only said to use one hand and one leg to attack. As long as the other hand and one leg attacked, it would be considered a loss. He didn't say that the other hand and one leg couldn't be used to defend. It seems like he's still fussing over the joke I made last night. However, how could Zhang Xiaohua take it to heart? She didn't exchange blows with Zhang Xiaohua. She pulled back her fist and leaned slightly to the side. Her left leg flew out, but it was Lu Lihong's right leg. She wanted to see how Lu Lihong would defend. Lu Lihong also had a few moves. Seeing the position of Zhang Xiaohua's leg, he knew what she was trying to do. He exerted strength in his legs and jumped up. With a spring kick, his left leg cut towards Zhang Xiaohua's knee. Zhang Xiaohua had already held back 60% of her strength. When she saw Lu Lihong's spring kick, she pulled back the leg she had just kicked out and jumped up. She was actually the same height as Lu Lihong. She stretched out her two hands. One hand blocked Lu Lihong's leg, while the other went straight for Lu Lihong's face. Hee, who told me to use both hands? Of course, Lu Lihong wouldn't let Zhang Xiaohua do as she wished. He immediately changed his move. Thus, the first dozens of moves between the two were fake and real. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, their fists and feet didn't touch. After a few moves, Zhang Xiaohua understood that Lu Lihong was testing her moves. But on the other hand, didn't Zhang Xiaohua have the same idea? When Zhang Xiaohua was practicing martial arts in the Huanxi Mountain Villa, she had read many fist techniques in order to learn the moves of the Big Dipper magical fist. She had an impression of the commonly seen fist techniques in Jianghu. But Lu Lihong's moves and movements were clearly different from what Zhang Xiaohua had seen before. Lihong's moves were clearly light and graceful, and when he was wearing a white gown to display twos to use. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Zhang Xiaohua's brows were slightly wrinkled. To be honest, he still hadn't figured out Lu Lihong's true intentions. Did Lu Lihong really want to help him, apologize to him, and use the precious Yuhuandan pill to exchange for his medicinal herbs? If that was the case, then Zhang Xiaohua was willing to treat Lu Lihong as a real senior brother and completely forget about the matter of the dragon scale fruit. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xiaohua suddenly stretched out a palm from under her armpit and directly slapped Lu Lihong's left shoulder. Her palm strike was very clever, and it was precisely Lu Lihong's flaw. Lu Lihong's right hand and left leg couldn't attack. If he really wanted to exchange the Yuhuandan pill for an elixir, then he would have to raise his left hand to attack. Otherwise, it would be too late to just defend. Or if he only defended, then Zhang Xiaohua's palm strike would land on his body. In terms of moves, Lu Lihong had already lost. It was a good opportunity for the two to get off the stage. Sure enough, Lu Lihong's eyes were filled with astonishment. He didn't seem to believe that Zhang Xiaohua could make such an exquisite move. However, his reaction was the same as Zhang Xiaohua's. He moved his body to the right and raised his left hand, trying to block Zhang Xiaohua's palm. But at this time, Zhang Xiaohua's palm had already landed. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua's palm was about to land, Zhang Xiaohua's lips curled into a smile. She thought to herself, "As expected, this senior brother Lu is really a good person. However, I can't let him take away the elixir." Zhang Xiaohua was about to withdraw her palm to meet Lu Lihong's palm. At this time, she saw Lu Lihong's right arm suddenly stop and rapidly collide with Zhang Xiaohua's palm. Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. If she hit him, wouldn't she win? That wouldn't be good. Just as she was about to withdraw her palm, she suddenly saw a mocking look in Lu Lihong's eyes. How was this the look of someone who did a good deed without leaving his name behind? Could it be that I was wrong? Thus, Zhang Xiaohua didn't change her move. Her palm was still aimed at Lu Lihong's shoulder. But when Zhang Xiaohua's palm touched Lu Lihong's shoulder, she felt a strong force. Lu Lihong had channeled his internal energy to his shoulder and used it to force Zhang Xiaohua to retreat. Zhang Xiaohua's heart turned cold. Then, a mocking smile appeared on her face. This senior brother Lu really isn't here to do a good deed. Although I don't know what his goal is, exchanging elixir for elixir is definitely a lie. Presumably, she also gave up on the idea of probing Lu Lihong. With a cry of surprise, she fell backwards. Seeing this, Lu Lihong didn't chase after her. He just stood there and watched with a smile. His white robe fluttered in the wind. He really had a good appearance and a good temperament. He looked at Zhang Xiaohua. She flew back a few feet and landed on the ground. She stood up like a carp and held her other wrist. She said in a dispirited voice, "Senior brother Lu is really powerful. Your internal energy is far from what this little brother can compare to. Moreover, your technique of channeling your internal energy is also superb. It actually came from your shoulder." This little brother didn't have time to channel his internal energy to my palm. This round, senior brother Lu has won. No, no. Lu Lihong smiled and said warmly, Junior brother Ren, you don't have to be so modest. Junior brother Ren's moves are very exquisite. You were actually able to see my flaw. This palm strike forced me to use my internal energy. If it was a normal exchange, I would have lost. However, in order to leave a deep impression on junior brother Ren and let him see the extensive and profound martial arts of the incense school, I think we should have tied. How about we start again? Zhang Xiaohua smiled bitterly and secretly said, What's so fun about it? Looking at your appearance, I don't know what you're thinking. Maybe you want to impress the disciples of the Pill Tower Hall with your demeanor and martial arts? It seems like you've already achieved your goal. This round, you want to win and I want to lose. The result has already been decided. Why should we fight again? However, Zhang Xiaohua's face was stern. She said, Thank you, Senior Brother Lu, for letting me win. This time, Senior Brother Lu, please make the first move. Lu Lihong nodded and said, Okay, then I'll make the first move. My fist contains half of my internal energy. Be careful. After he finished speaking, he punched out. When Zhang Xiaohua was refining pills in the morning, she had consumed less than half of her internal energy. She hurriedly went down the mountain and did not have time to replenish it. Hearing Lu Lihong's reminder, she did not dare to be careless. She immediately used 40% of her remaining internal energy to simulate her internal energy. However, when the two fists collided, Zhang Xiaohua immediately knew that it was not good. She hurriedly withdrew her strength, leaving only 30% of her internal energy. However, this 30% of her internal energy was enough to make Lu Lihong's figure retreat slightly. Her eyes revealed a look of surprise. She then smiled and said, Junior Brother Ren, good internal energy. This strength of the bull is indeed the top cultivation method in Jianghu. Zhang Xiaohua was out of breath. She said, Senior Brother Lu is too polite. I used nearly 90% of my internal energy to barely block it. Okay, Junior Brother Ren, if I continue to hide my strength, it would be disrespectful to you. Be careful, I'm going to use 80% of my internal energy. After he finished speaking, he lifted his left leg and kicked out. Seeing Lu Lihong like this, Zhang Xiaohua was already laughing in her heart. This guy's mouth sounds good, but his hands are always dirty. Although his internal energy is not bad, it's not as good as Longting Villa's young master Long. How can he be my opponent? Thinking about it, Longting Villa's young master Long's aptitude was not necessarily worse than Lu Lihong's. He had received formal internal energy training from a young age, unlike Lu Lihong, who only learned martial arts after entering Chuanxian cult. Although he was older than young Master Long, his martial arts were inferior. Since she had figured out Lu Lihong's background, Zhang Xiaohua had a plan in mind. She only needed to use the appropriate Xinqi to simulate the internal energy that was far inferior to Lu Lihong's. After fighting for a while, Zhang Xiaohua appeared to be in a mess. The same moves were used frequently, but Lu Lihong found the flaws many times. Zhang Xiaohua was forced to use her internal energy to meet Lu Lihong's attacks. However, Zhang Xiaohua's internal energy was far inferior to Lu Lihong's. Even if Lu Lihong wanted to use his Qinggong to avoid the attacks, Lu Lihong showed no mercy. His body fluttered all over the field. It seemed that his Qinggong was much better than Zhang Xiaohua's. In the end, Zhang Xiaohua finally stopped running and sat down on the grass. She bitterly smiled and said, Senior Brother Lu, this little brother really admires you. Your fist techniques, internal energy cultivation, and Qigong are all better than this little brother's. In terms of weapons, this little brother basically doesn't know anything about them. I only know how to use a small hoe to remove weeds. Seeing this, Lu Lihong also stopped. He was also slightly out of breath. However, he still smiled warmly and said, Junior Brother Ren, let's fight again. I see that you still have some strength left. We martial artists must face difficulties and never admit defeat. Thinking back to those years, if I lacked the slightest bit of confidence in the face of hardships, how could I have achieved what I have today? Don't. Zhang Xiaohua was out of breath. She repeatedly waved her hand and said, "Let's stop here. Senior Brother Lu, although your success can be replicated, after all, not everyone is like you. Anyway, I'm tired today. I just want to have a good rest. You see, okay." Lu Lihong's voice was slightly regretful. He said, "Since Junior Brother Ren said so, then I won this round. I want to help you, but I can't. Sigh, Junior Brother Ren, you still have to work hard. I hope that 10 years later, you can stand in front of me with a new face and stronger martial arts, and bravely challenge me." Zhang Xiaohua was speechless. She could only smile bitterly and said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Lu, for your encouragement. I heard that our Pill Expanding Hall also has secret martial arts manuals. Wait for me to find some and train hard. I will strive to have the qualifications to challenge Senior Brother. Good Junior Brother, I believe in you. Where there is a will, there is a way." Lu Lihong put his warm hand on Zhang Xiaohua's shoulder. It was the standard image of a real senior brother. -3. Chapter 591. At this time, old consecrator Lei, who had been observing from afar for a long time, shouted, "The gambling fight between Lu Lihong of Wuming Hall and Ren Xiaoyao of Pill Expanding Hall is now over. Lu Lihong of Wuming Hall wins." Therefore, Zhang Xiaohua finally lost in this gambling fight that she couldn't even release her divine sense in time. All right. The spectators were filled with jubilation as all the disciples of the Pill Opening Hall clamored without end. They were deeply proud that they were able to witness such a wonderful bet, a touching show of affection between fellow disciples, and a bet that placed friendship first and competition second. Proud. Proud. More importantly, they had all bet on Lu Lihong to win and earned a certain amount of points. Of course, there were also a few individuals who were wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. They looked at the sky and shouted, "God is unfair. Why didn't there be an upset today?" Yes, God was unfair. But why was God so unfair? It seemed that even God didn't know. Only those who could manipulate the outcome of the gambling fight knew. And Zhang Xiaohua was precisely this kind of person. Perhaps only when the stakes of the gambling fight were greater than Zhang Xiaohua's psychological expectations would there be a situation of God's fairness. However, with Zhang Xiaohua's upset earlier, there were now so many people who wanted to follow in her footsteps. Naturally, there would be a situation of God's unfairness. Not to mention the joy and sorrow of the disciples who had bet on them, Chen Fengxiao and Wu Zhouxiu, who had been waiting outside, immediately walked into the field when they saw the outcome. They smiled and said to Lu Lihong, "Junior Brother Lu's martial arts have improved by leaps and bounds. As senior brothers, we are really envious. The outer disciples of Wuming Hall really live up to their reputation." Then he said to Zhang Xiaohua, "Junior Brother Ren may have lost, but he must have benefited a lot from exchanging blows with a great expert like Junior Brother Lu. He will definitely improve if he goes back and comprehends it well. Moreover, Junior Brother Lu's martial arts are so high. Junior Brother Ren losing is normal. It would be strange if he won. Yes, as the ancients said, don't be arrogant if you win, and don't be discouraged if you lose. Junior Brother Lu and Junior Brother Ren should encourage each other," Zhang Xiaohua said with a face full of shame. "Headmaster Chen is right. Junior Brother was very proud of winning a few gambling fights by luck. Now, it seems that there is always someone better. Senior Brother Lu's martial arts are so high. You must be one of the top figures among the outer disciples of Wuming Hall. I think the disciples who came with us from Rejuvenation Valley aren't as good as Senior Brother Lu." After a little flattery, Lu Lihong's face was a little red. He glanced at Yan Yao, who was talking with a few disciples not far away, and said with a smile, "You flatter me. We are all outer disciples. There is no absolute difference in our martial arts. Some people are good at fist skills, some people are good at lightness skill. I was just lucky. All aspects are more balanced. The disciples who can go to Rejuvenation Valley with pill-spreading hall don't rely on martial arts. They only have some experience in Jianghu or some foundation in the sect. I was just a disciple of pill-spreading hall. I was not trained by Wuming Hall since I was young. I didn't have the opportunity to be sent out. Then he looked at Zhang Xiaohua and said meaningfully, even if you enter Wuming Hall and become an outer disciple, if you don't have a familiar master or elder to take care of you, you won't have a chance to stand out. Even your daily duties may not be better than others. Zhang Xiaohua understood. He was reminding her. Don't look at me patrolling the mountain in Wuming Hall. It was not because my martial arts were not good. It was only because I didn't have a foundation in Wuming Hall, and they didn't like me. However, Zhang Xiaohua immediately had a question mark in his heart. Lu Lihong's words are so vague. Could there be another meaning behind them? Does he want me to get close to him so that I can hug his thigh when I enter Wuming Hall? But do I need to hug your thigh? If there is a chance, wouldn't it be better for me to hug Lord Peacock Kong's thigh? Haha. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaohua's face blushed for no reason. This, cough cough, her thoughts seemed to be a little impure. Thus, Zhang Xiaohua nodded and probed. Senior Marshal Brother Lu's kind intentions are appreciated by me. We're both from Rejuvenation Valley, and we've both stayed in the Pill Expansion Hall's Grass Division. I feel closer to Senior Marshal Brother Lu for no reason. Even if I can't enter the outer sect in the future, I'll definitely remember Senior Marshal Brother's guidance today. You're too modest, Junior Brother Ren. You've just arrived at the Pill Expanding Hall, but you're already so skilled. You're much stronger than me at that time. The door of the Wuming Hall is always open to you. I'll be waiting for you there, but don't let me wait for too long. Chen Fengxiao also smiled and said, That's right. If Junior Brother Ren can enter Wuming Hall, it will be a good story in the herb department of Pill Expanding Hall. Moreover, it is my honor to have an outer disciple in Tianmu Peak. Haha, Junior Brother Ren, don't feel any pressure. Just make sufficient preparations before taking the assessment. Don't expect me to be in a hurry like Headmaster Chen. It is inevitable that I will delay my whole life. Wu Zhouxiu also nodded and said, Only he knew his own affairs the best. Zhang Xiaohua knew that becoming an outer disciple was a piece of cake for him. If he didn't want to enter the outer gate secretly, he could enter the outer gate now. Well, the premise was that he knew how to enter the outer gate. However, Zhang Xiaohua didn't pretend to be polite after hearing their honest words. He bowed deeply and said, Senior brothers, thank you for your kind words. I will keep it in mind. As they spoke, the spectating disciples also dispersed, leaving only a few important figures of the ruling hall and Pill Expanding Hall. Old Consecrator Lei and the others also walked over while the disciples were counting the points. Old Consecrator Lei and the others were people who had stayed at Lingering Fragrance Peak. Lu Lihong naturally didn't dare to neglect them and went up to chat with them with a smile. After a few words of small talk, Old Consecrator Lei said, Marshal Nephew Lu's talent is outstanding. It is indeed extraordinary. Your martial arts seems to have reached perfection. Your skill is almost on par with my hall master. Lu Lihong's face turned red and he quickly shook his head. Old Consecrator Lei, you are flattering me. Although Hall Master Ziguang is the outer gate Hall Master, he was also an inner disciple back then. Even if I cultivate for another 30 years, I will definitely not be a match for the old Hall Master. Haha, Marshal Nephew Lu is already not bad. I remember seeing Marshal Nephew Lu's skill at the Wuming Hall martial arts competition 5 years ago. It is much better than before. Old Consecrator Feng also stroked his beard and said, That's right. This year seems to be the season of the Twilight Orchid refinement. This is one of the outer sect disciple tests. Marshal Nephew Lu, are you prepared to get a good result in the trial? Hearing Old Consecrator Lei's question, Lu Lihong was a little hesitant. He thought for a moment and said, To be honest, Old Consecrator Lei, I have been cultivating in the outer sect for so many years. As my martial arts have improved, I have increasingly admired the martial arts of the Wuming Hall. You also know that the martial arts that the Wuming Hall can cultivate are the superficial of the Wuming Hall's martial arts. I have always wanted to go to the inner sect to take a look, but… Lu Lihong hesitated for a moment. But the quota for the Twilight Orchid refinement is limited. Not every outer sect disciple is qualified to enter, so yes, that's true. Although passing the Twilight Orchid refinement will only give you the qualification to enter the inner sect disciple test, if you are lucky, you can directly become an inner sect disciple. This is an opportunity that your Wuming Hall disciples will fight for even if they break their heads. That's right. The other trials only determine the qualification, and then there is elimination. How can it be more convenient than the Twilight Orchid refinement? Old Consecrator Lay shook his head. Although it is convenient, it is not easy. Every time the Twilight Orchid refinement, many outer sect disciples will be injured, and even lose their lives. Martial nephew, you must not be careless. It's not just the outer sect disciples. Even the inner sect disciples have been injured. It's just that, Sai, I don't even have the qualification to enter, let alone the danger of my life. Lu Lihong smiled bitterly. Zhang Xiaohua, who was beside him, was puzzled. She asked Chen Fengxiao in a low voice, Head Chen, what is this Twilight Orchid refinement? Chen Fengxiao pointed to the south with his finger and said, About 100 miles south from here, there is a big canyon that is filled with white fog all day long. It is called the Twilight Grand Canyon. Normally, people are not allowed to go near it. Every 5 years, the white fog at the mouth of the canyon will dissipate, revealing the road that leads to the canyon. There is a large plain and forest in the canyon, as well as a mountain range. Because there are few people, there are many rare medicinal herbs growing there. Every time the Twilight Orchid refinement, our pill-expanding hall will send some disciples into the canyon to pick some medicinal herbs. Back then, when I was in my prime, I also… What the… Zhang Xiaohua was sweating profusely. She interrupted. Head Chen, is picking medicinal herbs a trial? That shouldn't make senior brother Lu's face change color when he talks about the canyon, right? Hee, of course not. What I am talking about is what our pill-expanding hall does. Well, in fact, the Twilight Grand Canyon is a treasure house. There are many precious things inside. Not only our pill-expanding hall, the other halls such as the Refining Hall, Cleansing Jade Hall, and even the Heaven and Earth Hall will send people into the canyon. Oh, I heard that the inner disciples will also go in. However, when I went in that year, I did not see them. Even the disciples of the other pill-expanding halls have not seen them. Zhang Xiaohua no longer urged him. He knew that Chen Fengxiao wanted to show off his knowledge. Sure enough, he paused for a moment and said, Although this Yulon Grand Canyon is a treasure trove, there are endless dangers inside. Huh? Zhang Xiaohua was surprised. She could not help but ask, What risks? Because our fragrant religion has been passed down for tens of thousands of years, and the Twilight Grand Canyon has always been deserted. Therefore, there are many fierce beasts inside. Beasts? Zhang Xiaohua was surprised again. She said, What's so strange about that? As long as there are mountains, there will be wild beasts. No matter how fierce they are, how can they beat people who know martial arts? Haha, that's right. Therefore, ordinary disciples like us must be escorted by the outer court disciples of Wuming Hall when we enter the canyon. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood. Of course, escorting us is not part of their training, Chen Feng said with a smile. Calm, there are more chapters. -3. Chapter 592. Chen Fengxiao continued. The Valley Orchid Evening refinement has been around for many years, so the sect basically knows which areas are safe and which are dangerous. The places that we go to are basically fixed, and the route that we take is also fixed. Coupled with the escort of the outer disciples, although there is still the danger of being attacked by ferocious beasts, the danger is a lot smaller. Of course, even so, every time we come out of the canyon, the disciples of the Pill Repository Hall will more or less suffer casualties. That year when I participated in the Valley Orchid Evening refinement, I was also attacked by a group of wild boars on the way into the canyon. The group was scattered, and many disciples were bitten by the wild boars. More than 10 of them were seriously injured and never made it out. I was lucky to know a little martial arts. Moreover, I followed closely behind the outer disciples, so I was not injured at all. However, this is still considered good. I heard that once when we entered the canyon, the disciples of the Heavenly Earth Hall were unlucky enough to encounter a group of wild wolves. Even the outer disciples were not spared and all of them lost their lives. Ah? So serious. Zhang Xiaohua was flabbergasted. It's just a group of wild beasts. Even the outer disciples can't deal with them? Even if they can't beat them, they can at least run away with their qinggong. Junior brother Ren, you don't know that the wild beasts in the Valley Orchid Grand Canyon are not like the ones you usually see. Many of them have a deep understanding of human nature, and almost all of them have become spirits. My qinggong was not good, so when I encountered a wild boar, I could only dodge it. Wild boars are like this, not to mention the ferocious wolves. The martial arts of the outer disciples are profound. Since they are buried in the belly of the wolves, there is no need to talk about us disciples. After saying this, Chen Fengxiao sighed and said, However, as long as you can come out of the canyon, the hall's rewards are also generous. Therefore, the disciples of the Grass Division both love and hate this Valley Orchid evening refinement. Seeing Chen Fengxiao change the topic again, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but remind him. Then how did senior brother Lu and the others train? Hearing Zhang Xiaohua's question, Chen Fengxiao was a little embarrassed. He scratched his head and said, The outer sect disciples escorted us to the designated area, and then they left us. They also have to go to the designated trial area. Their trial method is to kill wild beasts. The more wild beasts they kill and the fiercer they are, the more points they get. As for which area they are in, what wild beasts they kill, and how the points are calculated, I don't know. I only heard this from the outer sect disciples who went with me last time. You two are friends who have gone through life and death together. Why didn't you ask more when you came back? Zhang Xiaohua smiled. Sigh, it's a pity that even though the senior managed to avoid the wild boar and bring us to our destination, I heard that he encountered a venomous snake during the trial and was poisoned to death. I didn't even see his corpse. Zhang Xiaohua was a little surprised and said, Don't tell me he didn't even bring the antidote pill with him? Of course we have the antidote pill. It's just that the pill we refined isn't strong enough and its medicinal power is limited. It might not be enough to detoxify the poison. I see. Zhang Xiaohua nodded. In her mind, she thought of the antidote pill in the hands of the Tenria Sect's Qin Shiwei. She wondered if the Tenria Sect's pill would be effective. Therefore, she asked. Then, before Zhang Xiaohua could speak, Chen Fengxiao waved his hand and said, Junior brother Ren, I see that you are interested in the outer sect disciples' trial. However, I don't know about this. The outer sect disciples have always been proud and don't interact much with us ordinary disciples. If you want to know about this, you can ask junior brother Lu. Zhang Xiaohua slapped her forehead. Of course, why would she ask Chen Fengxiao instead of the outer sect disciples? Old Consecrator Lei and the others were also talking to Lu Lihong about the Valley Orchid evening refinement. In the past, Zhang Xiaohua found an excuse and asked, Senior brother Lu, I want to ask how the outer sect disciples train. Lu Lihong smiled with interest and said, Junior brother Ren, are your hands itching and want to test your skills in the Valley Orchid? Old Consecrator Lei smiled and said, Martial nephew Ren's martial arts aren't bad. However, he just entered the fragrant religion and is still young. I reckon that he won't be able to enter for the next 10 years. Let's talk about it later. Wu Zhouxiu, on the other hand, said with jealousy, After 10 years, there will always be a chance to enter. Unlike our pill department, we don't even have the qualifications to enter the valley. Chen Fengxiao also walked over and said, It's fine if you don't enter the Valley Orchid. Otherwise, your pill department will be like our grass department, always losing disciples. That's why we have to search for medicine apprentices from the outer sect every few years. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood. No wonder they had to bring 10 medicine apprentices from Rejuvenation Valley every 2 years. This might be one of the reasons. Wu Zhoushu disagreed. Forget it. Our pill department's disciples are all envious of your grass department for having such a big opportunity. Although it's somewhat dangerous, how can there be a big return without a big investment? If Junior Brother Lu didn't coincidentally pick that spiritual grass in the Valley Orchid, how could he have obtained the intersect cultivation method? If it wasn't for this cultivation method, how could Junior Brother Lu have succeeded in cultivating it, and passed the assessment to enter Wumming Hall? Of course, Junior Brother Lu's talent is outstanding. This goes without saying. In the past, there were disciples who obtained the intersect cultivation method but didn't succeed in cultivating it. Without this intersect cultivation method, wouldn't Junior Brother Lu have to delay entering the outer sect for many years? Seeing that Wu Zhoushu was talking about him, Lu Lihong quickly smiled and said, "Aren't we talking about the Valley Orchid evening refinement? How did it involve me? That year, I was just lucky." Zhang Xiaohua asked curiously, "What kind of spiritual grass did Senior Brother Lu encounter?" "It's actually called a spiritual grass?" Lu Lihong said. "This isn't a secret. The brothers in the hall all know that it's just a 300-year-old ginseng." "Ah? 300 years old?" Zhang Xiaohua was a little surprised. "The ginseng itself is nothing. It's just that its age is frightening. However, it just so happened that an intersect master was injured and needed this ginseng. That's why it was taken by an intersect disciple. If it was normal, there might not be any future opportunities." Lu Lihong said modestly. "Then what is the intersect cultivation method that Senior Brother Lu obtained?" Zhang Xiaohua asked curiously. Hee, don't blame me for not telling you. It's just a complete version of our fragrant religion's ordinary martial arts cultivation method." "Complete version?" Zhang Xiaohua was even more confused. Chen Fengxiao saw this and said, "In our Pill Expansion Hall's library, other than the records of herbs and pills, there are also martial arts cultivation methods. However, those are the most basic ones. The later cultivation methods are in the Wumming Hall, and even the intersect. Junior Brother Lu is very lucky and obtained a complete set of intersect cultivation methods." "Oh, so that's how it is." Zhang Xiaohua understood. The fragrant religion did not forbid ordinary disciples from practicing martial arts. It was just that they could only practice the simplest martial arts, which was the first level of fragrant religion's martial arts. Only the outer sect disciples of the Wumming Hall could practice more advanced martial arts. As for the higher level martial arts cultivation methods or top level martial arts cultivation methods, only the intersect disciples were qualified or had the aptitude to practice them. Lu Lihong coincidentally obtained a complete set of martial arts cultivation methods. Not to mention that it was given by the intersect, it wouldn't be bad. Even if it was a middle-level intersect cultivation method, as long as one practiced it to the highest level, one would be an important figure in the Wumming Hall. No wonder Chen Fengxiao and Wu Zhoushu valued Lu Lihong so much. However, seeing that Lu Lihong had practiced this intersect cultivation method for so many years and his intersect was not as high as young Master Long of the Longding Villa, either Lu Lihong's aptitude was limited or the intersect cultivation method was not good enough, Zhang Xiaohua was not interested in asking more. Thus, he continued, "Senior apprentice Brother Lu still hasn't told little brother about the outer court disciples' trial. Although little brother can't participate in the Orchid Evening refinement, he is still very curious about this trial." Lu Lihong laughed and said, "Junior Brother Rin is really interesting. I remember that when I came back from the Orchid Grand Canyon, all the medicine boys from the Rejuvenation Valley who came to the Fragrant Religion pestered me to ask about the scenery and fun things in the canyon. Only you are interested in the outer sect disciples' trial. You are really a strange person, ah?" Zhang Xiaohua was surprised and said seriously, "I only have this little secret, and it was seen through by Senior Brother Lu? It seems that Senior Brother Lu is also a strange person." When Zhang Xiaohua said this, everyone was surprised at first, then they all held their bellies and pointed at Zhang Xiaohua and laughed. "I didn't expect Junior Brother Ren to be so humorous. Rare. Seeing her senior brothers and several old consecrators laughing, Zhang Xiaohua unconsciously touched her nose and also laughed. She thought, why is it so hard to tell the truth? No one actually believes me. After everyone finished laughing, Lu Lihong said, the outer sect disciples' trial is to hunt and kill ferocious beasts. This is a secret, but the method of accumulating points is a secret in the hall. Actually it has been a secret for so many years, but all the older disciples know about it. Today, seeing junior brother Ren being so humorous, I will also roughly explain it. Actually, the old consecrators should know more than me. Old consecrator Lei smiled and said, we also heard a lot about it from hearsay. It's not as detailed as you, a real outer sect disciple. Alas, that's not necessarily true. These detailed methods of accumulating points can only be explained by senior brothers after the qualification for the trial is confirmed. What I know is just hearsay. Lu Lihong's tone was a bit lonely. Old consecrator Lei and the others didn't answer. Nonsense, these methods of accumulating points are the Wuming Hall's business. If Lu Lihong wasn't here, they would have said it. After all, it is a secret that the disciples of the Aroma religion will know sooner or later. But now, the outer sect disciple is right in front of them. If you talk about his so-called secret in front of him, isn't it the same as slapping his face? After thinking for a moment, Lu Lihong said, the disciples who have entered the Yulon Grand Canyon know that there are many wild beasts in the canyon. The common ones are wild boars, antelopes, deer, etc. The uncommon ones are wolves, tigers, leopards, vipers, etc. Oh, there is also the legendary yellow wind and black lightning. Yellow wind? Black lightning? Zhang Xiaohua curiously asked. The yellow wind is a legendary wasp? What is black lightning? -3. Chapter 593. When he heard Zhang Xiaohua say, wasps are legendary, Lu Lihong knew that he had misunderstood. He smiled and said, this wind is the wind from Gale. Eh? Yellow wind? Zhang Xiaohua was immediately interested. She asked, what is that? Senior Marshal Brother Lu, tell me quickly. Ha ha ha, I thought Junior Brother Ren wasn't interested in these things. It turns out that you're just a child. Zhang Xiaohua was exasperated. Ignoring the fact that he was already 18 years old, he forgot. He was pretending to be a 14-year-old young man. Even if he was 30 years old, wouldn't he be curious when he heard about the legendary yellow wind? Moreover, didn't her dear brother Ma Jing teach Zhang Xiaohua a good thing when they were at Huanxi Manor? When people were talking, he had to ask at the right time to raise their interest. Zhang Xiaohua was just following his advice. Just as she was feeling depressed, a few disciples came to report that they had finished calculating the bets. Old consecrator Lei took the results and looked at them. He smiled and said, Marshal Niece Ren, there really are many disciples who bet on you winning. You've failed to live up to their pills. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, I was just lucky last time. This time, my martial arts are so different from Senior Marshal Brother Lu's. How can I be an upset? They might as well give me the pills. At least I'll be grateful to them. Old consecrator Lei returned the record to the disciple and said, Post this record in the courtyard and record everyone's points. We'll distribute the bets tomorrow. There won't be many for each disciple, so there's no need to worry. A few disciples took the order and left. A disciple of the pill department ran over and reported in a low voice, Dalong, the banquet is ready. Seeing this, Wu Zhoushu smiled and said, Junior Marshal Brother Lu, yesterday head Chin of the grass department held a banquet for you. Today, my brothers of the pill department are holding a banquet to send you off and celebrate your victory. It just so happens that a few old consecrators are also here. Let's get to know each other. Hearing this, Lu Lihong showed a difficult expression and said, Thank you for your kindness, Wu Dalong. However, my senior brother only gave me 2 days of leave. I have to return to Black Tomb Peak tonight. If I don't leave now, I will have to delay my journey. However, Wu Zhoushu smiled and said, It's not easy for junior brother Lu to return to the pill expanding hall, and it's also your first time coming to Tian Mu Peak. Yesterday, Head Leader Chen was the host, and our Pill Division was the host. Today, our Pill Division is the host, and our brothers from the Grass Division are the hosts. Junior Brother Lu, don't let your senior brother lose face. Then, he pulled Lu Lihong's hand and said, Who doesn't know that Junior Brother Lu is an elite disciple of Wuming Hall? It was only a day late to the Black Tomb Peak, who could blame him? Let's go, let's go. The old consecrators have not attended a banquet for many years. It was not easy for them to agree today. Junior Marshal Brother Lu, don't disappoint the old consecrators. Well? Lu Lihong was a little hesitant. Although there were rules in Wuming Hall, after all, the incense cult had been living a peaceful life for many years. It was inevitable that these rules would be neglected by the disciples. Asking for leave was also not a big deal. Even the head of the discipline might not really give up his face to punish someone for a day's delay. Moreover, there were several old consecrators here. They had been in the inner door for a long time, and Lu Lihong had never had a chance to get close to them. They did not show up at last night's banquet, which was a good indication. Now that there was a chance, Lu Lihong had no reason to give it up. After thinking for a while, Lu Lihong gritted his teeth and said, We will pass by Bai Yefeng on the way. We might as well wait for Bai Yefeng to pay a visit to Vice Hall Leader Su. I heard that he has a good personal relationship with Vice Hall Leader Peng of Wuming Hall. There should be no problem if he says a few words. Of course, even if there is no such reason, the old consecrators will still have to attend. Even if I have to take the risk of being punished by the head of the discipline, I will still have to drink a few cups of wine. Lu Lihong's words were pleasant to hear. The old consecrators were very satisfied and nodded with a smile. Wu Joshi was even happier. He held Lu Lihong's hand and said, Then let's go. We can talk at the banquet. I still want to hear about Junior Brother Lu's heroic deeds in Wuming Hall. After he finished speaking, he invited the consecrators to go first while he pulled Lu Lihong behind them. Chen Feng smiled and called out to Zhang Xiaohua. They started to move forward. He opened his mouth and waved his hand. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. What kind of person was this? She had asked a question, but no matter what, he couldn't give an answer. Now, he didn't even know what yellow wind and black lightning were. She wanted to turn back and ask Bai Huan. After all, he had also been to Yulon Grand Canyon. But after thinking about it, Lu Lihong had already given the old consecrator's face. Zhang Xiaohua thought about the bone condensation pill in the pill room. It had just been formed, so there shouldn't be any problems in a short period of time. She then thought about the wine at the banquet. She gritted her teeth and followed behind Chen Feng. The banquet was still held in the hall, but there were a lot more people. This time, consecrators Lei and the others were all present. Lu Lihong didn't seem to be sitting at the head of the table. The old consecrators had one seat at each table. Naturally, consecrators Lei sat at the head of the table. Lu Lihong accompanied him. Chen Feng and Wu Zhouxiu also sat at the head of the table. Zhang Xiaohua originally didn't have the qualifications to sit at this table, but she had just made a bet with Lu Lihong. Even consecrators Lei thought highly of her, so she was called to sit at the end of the table. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, everyone drank until their faces were hot. They casually talked about some interesting stories in the cult. Even the Misty Hall was occasionally involved. Zhang Xiaohua listened attentively. However, although these people looked very respectable, in fact, they didn't know much in the cult of fragrance. They didn't know much about the Misty Hall and the Lingxiang Peak. After listening for a while, there wasn't any special information. Finally, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't bear it anymore. She stood up with a teacup and toasted Lu Lihong. She said, "Senior Brother Lu, you're so rude. You stopped halfway. Why don't you tell me about the yellow wind and the black lightning while you're still drunk?" Lu Lihong drank the wine that Zhang Xiaohua toasted him. He nodded and said, "Actually, I really don't know what the yellow wind and the black lightning are. I think that even the few old consecrators who have been in the cult of fragrance for so many years shouldn't know. Old Consecrator Lay nodded. That's right. These two are the most powerful beasts in the Yulon Grand Canyon. Any disciple who encounters them will lose their life. Therefore, no one knows what these two beasts are. Huh? Zhang Xiaohua curiously asked. Since no one has survived from these two beasts, how do you know that these two beasts exist? You even named them Yellow Wind and Black Lightning? Hee hee, although Old Consecrator Lay's words are somewhat careless, it is precisely so. Back then, not only the outer disciples and the disciples of the various halls, even the inner disciples would often inexplicably lose their lives. This matter attracted the attention of the cult leader. In the future trials, the most outstanding disciples of the inner sect would be sent out to find out the reason. As the saying goes, when a person walks by the river, how can his shoes not get wet? These two beasts had harmed the disciples many times, so they would always be encountered by the inner sect disciples. According to the outstanding disciples who paid with their lives that year, these two beasts were extremely fast and couldn't be seen clearly. One was like a gust of wind. As soon as it heard the sound of the wind, it would bite the throat and leave only a yellow shadow, so it was named Yellow Wind. As for the other one, it was as fast as lightning. Like a bolt of lightning, it would also cut the throat and leave only a black shadow, so it was named Black Lightning. These two ferocious beasts had killed countless disciples in the past, so much so that no one dared to enter the Yulon Grand Canyon to train. At that time, Lord Hierarch, several elders and consecrators set out together to hunt these two ferocious beasts. Unfortunately, I heard that the two beasts were seriously injured, but they still managed to escape. Then, what kind of beasts are these Black Lightning and Yellow Wind? Everyone shook their heads. That year, the seniors who participated in this matter kept their mouths shut. How could others know? It's just that later on, these two beasts never appeared again. Perhaps they were seriously injured and died. It's also unknown. So it's like this. Zhang Xiaohua nodded. Perhaps they didn't die, but they learned a lesson and didn't dare to attack our trial disciples. It's very possible. These beasts all have spirituality. Perhaps they're hiding somewhere unknown. It's also because of this that the Yellow Wind and Black Lightning are shrouded in a mysterious aura. Then, what's going on with the trial for you outer sect disciples? Speaking of this trial, it's actually very simple. It's not as complicated as Junior Brother Rin thought. It's just like when we gambled a moment ago, the disciples below the stage were calculating points. It's just that winning the gambled battle gives you 1 point, while the outer sect disciples only get the corresponding points by killing a beast. Yes, I understand a little. However, the points for killing a tiger and a white deer should be different, right? Our ancestors divided the beasts in the Yulon Grand Canyon into 3 grades according to the strength of the beasts. The first grade is the most common ones, such as antelopes and white deer, which are worth from 1 to 5 points. The second grade is wild boars and hyenas, which are worth from 10 to 50 points. The third grade is wild wolves, tigers, lions, and so on, which are worth from 1 to 500 points. Every outer sect trial disciple must bring the proof of killing the beasts back to Wuming Hall. The hall master will specially arrange people to record the points. Then, how many points are needed to participate in the outer sect selection? Zhang Xiaohua was somewhat curious. Lu Lihong looked at Zhang Xiaohua and then at everyone. Seeing Lu Lihong hesitate, Old Consecrator Lay smiled and said, "If Martial Nephew Lu is not convenient to say, then this old man will say it for you. Although this is a secret, it's a secret that everyone knows." Lu Lihong smiled and didn't speak. Old Consecrator Lay said, "This point is 2,000. Ah?" Zhang Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air. "So many? Doesn't that mean we have to hunt 4 tigers? Furthermore, who knows how many animals we have to kill in a single orchid dusk refining? -3. Chapter 594. Alas, Lu Lihong sighed. Wuming Hall's outer court disciples are numerous, and all of them want to enter the inner court. Therefore, the threshold for the outer court test naturally has to be higher, otherwise, there would be no point in selecting experts. Zhang Xiaohua mischievously laughed. Then, if one hunts 2,000 white deer or antelope, wouldn't one also qualify for the outer court test? Ha! Everyone laughed. Lu Lihong said, although that is the case, whether or not there are 2,000 white deer or antelope in the entire Yulon Grand Canyon is another matter. Even if you hunted 2,000 antelope, other people hunted ferocious beasts, how can you take out 2,000 antelope? Even if you were given the qualification to participate in the test, do you still have the face to participate? It's just a discussion, Zhang Xiaohua embarrassedly said. Then, he continued to ask, if you obtain 2,000 points, you will be eligible to participate in the outer court test and select the disciples who are eligible to participate in the inner court test. I just heard Senior Brother Lu say that if you are lucky, you can directly qualify for the inner court test. What does this mean? This time, Lu Lihong no longer hesitated and said, as Junior Brother Ren said, to obtain the outer court test qualification, you still have to compete in order to obtain the inner court test qualification. However, if you can obtain 5,000 points in the trial, you can directly qualify for the inner court test, and you don't have to compete with other outer court disciples for the qualification. 5,000? Zhang Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Good, 10 tigers, you guys are really ruthless. Junior Brother Ren hasn't been to the Yulon Grand Canyon, so he doesn't know that the tigers there are very fierce, definitely comparable to a martial arts master. Moreover, they are also very cruel. As long as they see people, they will certainly attack and bite them to pieces, eating them alive. But if we don't disturb their peace, they may not. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaohua to finish, Lu Lihong interrupted him and said, but if they are not hunted, we can't qualify for the inner court test. Moreover, they are living in the Yulon Grand Canyon, eating a lot of other animals, such as deer and antelope. If we hunt the tigers, we can control their numbers and let them eat less weak animals. This? Zhang Xiaohua was speechless. Beside him, Wu Zhou softly asked, Junior Brother Lu, I heard that in addition to the 5,000 points, there are several ways to directly qualify for the inner court test. Is this true? And this is true. Lu Lihong nodded and said, as I said, in addition to the usual fierce beasts, there are many other rare fierce beasts in the Yulon Grand Canyon. These fierce beasts are even more ferocious than tigers and lions. If an ordinary outer court disciple were to encounter them, their life would be in danger. For example, giant python, giant ape, etc. If you can hunt these fierce beasts, as long as you can kill one, you can advance to the inner court test. In addition, in the Yulon Grand Canyon, there are many heavenly treasures, all of which are hidden in difficult-to-find places. These places are abnormally dangerous, or guarded by extremely powerful fierce beasts. If you can pick these things, you can hand them over to the inner court for inspection. If you like them, you can directly advance to the inner court test. Is there anything else? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but ask. These are not enough? Lu Lihong curiously said. No matter which of these two, it is incomparably difficult. Even the inner court disciples don't dare to try. Of course, according to the other senior brothers in the hall, there seems to be other ways, but their words were vague, so I didn't dare to ask. Perhaps when I obtain the qualifications for the Yulon Grand Canyon, I will naturally know. Good. Chen Fengsha on the side slapped the table, raised his wine cup and said, then let us first toast to Junior Brother Lu, wishing that Junior Brother Lu can successfully obtain the qualifications for the Yulon Grand Canyon. Everyone laughed and said, as it should be. Lu Lihong also raised his cup. Let us borrow everyone's auspicious words. Come, cheers! Zhang Xiaohua got the answer she wanted, so she was happy in her heart, and raised her cup to pass off the fish eyes as pearls. This banquet was very lively, and it didn't disperse until the sky was about to turn dark. Chen Fengsha and Wu Zhou wanted to keep Lu Lihong for the night, but Lu Lihong didn't dare to delay. He only said that he had to rush back to the White Mountain Peak first, and his heart would feel safe. Yang Yao also had to report back to the pill-spreading hall. Thus, everyone didn't force them to stay, and watched the two lead their horses down the mountain. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua actually accompanied them to finish the banquet, Chen Fengsha patted Zhang Xiaohua's shoulder and said, Little brother, don't you feel that your senior brother Lu's martial arts are strong, and that he's easy to get along with? Zhang Xiaohua shook his head and said, Senior brother Lu is indeed my role model. But now that I'm a disciple of the Wuming Hall, I still feel that Head Qin is the one who's easy to get along with. Ha! Qin Fengxiao laughed, and pointed at Wu Zhouxiu. Brother Wu and I were like your senior brother Lu, wanting to rush into the outer sect with endless faith, but the situation was stronger than us. Look at him, he's limitless in the outer sect, but what about us? Little brother, work hard on your cultivation. You lost to senior brother Lu today, but it doesn't mean anything. You're young, and your internal strength isn't outstanding, and your various conditions are much worse than Lu Lihong's. Of course, you've just come to the incense cult, so your foundation is much better than Lu Lihong's, but… Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. Why did he suddenly stop encouraging? She couldn't help but ask. But what? Wu Zhouxiu sighed. That's your chance. Then he looked at Qin Fengxiao and said, Back then, Head Qin also went to the Yulon Grand Canyon, but unfortunately, he only picked some ordinary herbs, not even the old ones. Well, even the iron bone grass that Bai Huan gave you can't compare to it. Qin Fengxiao said with a lonely smile. Lu Lihong's Yulon Grand Canyon is a few hundred years old ginseng. It's fine if you said you picked the old ginseng, but it just so happened that the inner sect elder was seriously injured and urgently needed 100 years old ginseng, and the older the better. There are many 100 years old ginseng in the incense cult, but there aren't many that are hundreds of years old. If you can save the life of the inner sect elder, the reward must be rich. A complete internal strength cultivation method, just thinking about it makes me envious. Zhang Xiaohua's heart moved. Does the incense cult not have the normal internal strength cultivation method of the Jianghu? Well, there is, but it's all in the inner sect. Ordinary disciples like us can only practice the basic cultivation method of the incense cult. But what about my reckless bull force? Didn't I learn it from the outside? If I teach it to you, won't I be able to succeed? Little brother, you don't know that the medicine apprentices who enter the incense cult are all young. People like you are very rare, so there are very few people in the pill expanding hall who know the external cultivation method. Oh, there are a lot of disciples in the weapon refining hall who practice other internal strength. However, there is a rule in the incense cult. That is, other than the disciples who have practiced the external martial arts, other disciples can't practice the martial arts of the incense cult. If they are found, they will be punished according to the cult rules. So it's like that. Zhang Xiaohua was a little confused, but she could only nod. So, little brother, if your whatever force is really so good, then you must practice it to the highest level. Look, you have already entered the sect and reached the highest level. You will definitely be able to fight against Lu Lihong. At that time, you will also have the qualifications to enter the outer sect. Oh, right, it's best if you have the confidence to go. This is an opportunity that every ordinary disciple only has once. Of course, if little brother is lucky, you will be able to guess the best spiritual grass in the orchid evening refinement 10 years later. You will probably be able to soar to the sky. Wu Zhouxiu encouraged with a slightly sour taste in his mouth. Soar to the sky? Zhang Xiaohua smiled. What's the use of soaring to the sky if your foundation is not stable? Even if you enter the Wuming Hall like senior brother Lu, you still have to worry about the orchid evening refinement quota. It's better to be free and unfettered on Tianmu Peak. Ah? Qin Fengxiao and Wu Zhouxiu were both surprised. Becoming an outer sect disciple was the goal of every knowledgeable, ambitious, and idealistic disciple of the incense cult. The two of them had been encouraging Zhang Xiaohua for half a day because they wanted him to have this mindset so that he would have a clear goal in his future cultivation. This guy, on the other hand, wanted to be free and unfettered. It was really a rotten wood that could not be carved. Therefore, Wu Zhouxiu said earnestly, Little brother, you have to have a long-term plan. You can't be like us and spend the rest of your life on Tianmu Peak, right? Zhang Xiaohua smiled. If I really become an outer sect disciple, what benefits will I get? The treatment will be better, you will have more martial arts to practice, and you will also have the opportunity to become an inner sect disciple. Oh? Then what about after I become an inner sect disciple? The treatment will be better too. There will be more martial arts to practice. And then? And then? You will be able to go wherever you want. You will be able to lie on lingering fragrance peak and bask in the warm sunshine. Haha, Wu Dalong, can I bask in the warm sunshine on our Tianmu peak right now? This? Wu Zhoushu did not know how to answer. Chen Fengxiao chuckled. Wu Dalong, don't listen to this kid's nonsense. He just lost to Lu Lihong today and is feeling uncomfortable. He is just here to find some feeling. Have you forgotten? He is the prospective son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley. Valley Master Nie's charming daughter is still waiting for him to return to the bridal chamber. This kid's motivation to improve is even more than Lu Lihong's back then. Of course. Wu Zhoushu slapped his forehead and smiled. I was fooled by this kid. All right, Headmaster Chin, let's drink a few more cups. I still want to drink more. That's what I was thinking. Let's go. Hey, little brother, are you still bringing a teacup to join in the fun with us? Ever since Zhang Xiaohua won a few gambling fights, defeated Zhou Shuming and Qin Gong, and received Lu Lihong's affirmation today, even Wu Zhoushu had changed the way he addressed her. This, little brother, was no longer just a term that Chen Fengxiao used. -3. Chapter 595. Hearing Wu Zhoushu's greeting, Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, You two can go now. I still need to go back and practice martial arts. I also need to find a place to water this stomach full of tea. Hearing Zhang Xiaohua's words, the two didn't keep him and went back to the courtyard. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the back of the back and said to himself, How can a sparrow or swallow know the ambition of a swan? Then, he didn't hesitate and used his qigong to go to the top of Tianmu Peak. Inside the alchemy room at the top of Tianmu Peak, the medicinal liquid inside the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace was still spinning as usual. The faint red lines were also constantly moving around without any abnormalities. Zhang Xiaohua relaxed and sent a few spells into the furnace. He sat cross-legged in front of the furnace and meditated to comprehend the heavenly Tao. Night gradually came, and the night gradually deepened. While Zhang Xiaohua was practicing the Worry-Free Heart Sutra, endless starlight still passed through the furnace, enjoying the spinning of the pill. Far away, in an exquisite little house on Bayou Peak, Vice Hall Master Su of the Pill Tower Hall was sitting at the top and leisurely sipping tea. To his left, a person was sitting there respectfully. This person was Lu Lihong, who had just returned from Tianmu Peak. Looking at his current expression, he was humble and cautious as if he was facing his elders. It was far from the arrogance and warmth of Tianmu Peak. Seeing Lu Lihong's performance, Vice Hall Master Su was very satisfied. After a while, he kindly said, Martial Nephew Lu, no need to be so polite. You are now a disciple of the Wuming Hall and I am only a Vice Hall Master of the Pill Tower Hall. No matter how long my hand is, I can't control you. Lu Lihong didn't dare to be negligent and respectfully said, Vice Hall Master Su has given me a new life. Every time I see you, I will see my elders according to how I see them. How can I not be respectful? There's no need. You're being too courteous. Back then I only helped you because I saw how hardworking you were in your cultivation and how talented you were. Furthermore, your luck was pretty good as well. That's why I decided to help you. That's all. Lu Lihong licked his lips and was still humble. I dare not forget Vice Hall Master Su's kindness. After a while he probed, Vice Hall Master Su, I have already done what you asked me to do. Vice Hall Master was slightly surprised. Martial Nephew is very diligent. You have done it so quickly? That's right. I will definitely put your matters first. Good then, tell me about Rin Shuyo's martial arts. Vice Hall Master Su asked. After thinking for a while, Lu Lihong cautiously said, This child's martial arts are very high, but he is still young and has only cultivated internal strength for a short time, so his internal strength is relatively weak. Although his moves are somewhat exquisite, it is a pity that they are rather monotonous. It is just a set of fist techniques. Yes, his lightness skill is quite good. He may have received guidance from some experts in Rejuvenation Valley, but he is still a bit inferior to me. Similar to what you said, he should be at the same level as Chenfeng Xiao and the others. After he finished speaking, he took out the jade bottle from his bosom and respectfully handed it to Vice Hall Master Su. He said, "I've already used this jade rejuvenation pill. Please take it back, Vice Hall Master Su." Haha, as soon as you said you wanted to exchange the medicinal herbs with him, this kid immediately took the bait. Yes, Vice Hall Master Su has a divine foresight. At first, he was hiding somewhere and didn't want to see me. When he heard that I could exchange the medicinal herbs with him, it was as if he had seen his own father. Haha, it's nothing. Which one of the medicine boys from Rejuvenation Valley didn't treat the medicinal herbs as treasures when they first came? This kid worked himself to death and finally won a few gambling fights with great difficulty, but they were all exchanged for medicinal herbs. It was purely drawing water with a sieve. Now that he has just come to his senses, how could he refuse the bait you sent over? Right, you return to White Mountain Peak again. Will Yan Yao have any suspicions? No, I originally wanted to rack my brains to think of a reason, but Wu Zhouxiu actually wanted me to stay behind to see him off. After drinking this wine, I naturally have a reason. Wu Zhouxiu, he knows how to conduct himself. Vice Hall Master Su nodded slightly, very satisfied. Seeing that Vice Hall Master Su only spoke and did not accept the pill, Lu Lihong said again. Since this bait has been used up, then please take it back. Vice Hall Master Su snorted. What reason do I have to take back what I have given out? Take this pill as a reward for your work this time. Ah? Lu Lihong was surprised and somewhat in disbelief. He said with a trembling voice. Vice Hall Master Su, isn't this too valuable? This matter was just a small matter. How can you treat me like this? It's fine. You have always done things properly. I am also happy. Although this pill is valuable, I have no use for it. You can keep it. Perhaps it will be of some help in the future. Lu Lihong thought about it for a moment, then gritted his teeth and accepted it. Actually, he had wanted to use this opportunity to help Vice Hall Master Su in order to ask for something else. However, Vice Hall Master Su had given him this pill, which meant that he understood what he had helped him with in the past. Thus, he couldn't bring himself to ask for anything. Then I won't be polite. As he spoke, Lu Lihong put away the jade bottle. His face was filled with joy and worry. Seeing Lu Lihong's wonderful expression, Vice Hall Master Su also revealed a look of confidence. However, Lu Lihong was only thinking about his own matters and did not dare to face it directly, so he did not notice. The two of them sat in silence for a while. Lu Lihong raised his head and was about to get up and leave. Vice Hall Master Su said softly, Martial Nephew Lu, since you have already tested Ren Xiaoyao's martial arts, then you must have full confidence in dealing with this brat, right? Lu Lihong was stunned and said, There should be no problem. If it was a gambling fight, even Chenfeng Xiao and Wu Zhouxiu would be able to defeat Ren Xiaoyao. And that's good. Vice Hall Master Su nodded, causing Lu Lihong to be confused. The gambling fight on Tianmu Peak was not a matter of 1 or 2 years. Why was he specifically mentioning a little medicine boy who had just entered Tianmu Peak? Following that, there was another wave of speechlessness. The house was silent for a while. Thus Lu Lihong got up and said, It is already late. Vice Hall Master Su, please rest early. I will take my leave first. Vice Hall Master Su smiled. Martial Nephew Lu, don't be anxious. I see that Martial Nephew Lu is frowning. Is there something difficult? Didn't you just treat me as your father? Why don't you tell me? This old man may not be able to help you, but I can be your reference. I am frowning? Lu Lihong was surprised and secretly wondered. I was so respectful just now. How could he see that I am worried? But this is also a good opportunity to talk about it. Maybe. After thinking about it, Lu Lihong cupped his hands and said, Vice Hall Master Su really has the demeanor of a father. You can even see this. Alas, it is really annoying to talk about it. Then, he told Vice Hall Master Su about how he wanted to enter the Grand Canyon for the trial. Then, he said, there are many experts in the Wuming Hall. This little one is not that outstanding. Moreover, they have been cultivating in the Wuming Hall since young. This kind of opportunity will not fall on this little one. But if I don't enter the Grand Canyon for the trial, I may never have the opportunity to participate in the outer disciple test, let alone the inner disciple test. Vice Hall Master Su nodded slightly. Oh, so it is like this. You are right. It is really difficult for you to get the qualification for the outer disciple test. If you can go to the Yulon Grand Canyon for the trial, you may have a chance. Hee, I forgot that place is your blessed land. Last time was a great opportunity. Who knows, this time might be the same. Lu Lihong looked at Vice Hall Master Su with some desire and said, yes, this little one's internal strength has not improved. 5 years later, it is even harder to say so. Vice Hall Master Su nodded again and said, I am familiar with your Vice Hall Master Peng. He seems to be able to talk to you. Then, he picked up the teacup and took a sip. Ah? Vice Hall Master Su's words were very soft, but in Lu Lihong's ears, it was like the sound of nature. He hurriedly stood up and asked in disbelief. Then you are willing to. However, he couldn't bring himself to say the rest of his words. Indeed, this was a huge favor. Although he had been praised highly at Tianmu Peak, he was clear about his own position in the outer sect. The person in front of him was also clear about this. This favor was something that he could never repay no matter what. Therefore, he didn't dare to continue probing. Vice Hall Master Su's expression didn't change. He only raised his eyes and quietly looked at Lu Lihong. After a long while, he put down the teacup and calmly said, this old man can help you open your mouth. However, this old man hopes that you will listen to this old man in the future. Lu Lihong was overjoyed when he heard this. He walked forward and said, Vice Hall Master Su has given me a new life. In this world, my parents gave birth to me and Vice Hall Master Su created me. In the future, I will follow Vice Hall Master Su's lead. If you want me to go east, I will go east. I don't care about north, south, or west at all. Even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of fire, I will do it. Vice Hall Master Su smiled and said, Good. Since Marshal Nephew Lu says so, this old man agrees. Marshal Nephew Lu, please sit down first. I will definitely help you with this matter. However, this old man has something that I want you to do. Lu Lihong nodded and said, as long as Vice Hall Master Su wants me to do something, I will not refuse. Don't agree so quickly. This matter is not complicated. Come closer. Closer? Lu Lihong was stunned. However, he still walked forward and Vice Hall Master Su whispered in his ear for a while. Lu Lihong was pleasantly surprised at first. Then, he frowned and finally turned pale with fright. In the end, he muttered, Vice Hall Master Su, this is not appropriate. Although, but this is too. -3. Chapter 596. Seeing Lu Lihong's reaction, Vice Hall Master Su was not surprised and whispered, What's wrong? This is just the first thing and you're already making excuses. Then, what you said just now, can this old man treat it as a fart? Lu Lihong's face turned green and red as he said awkwardly. But the rules of the incense order, bullshit rules. According to the rules, why would an outer disciple like you stay in my White Mountain Peak and obediently be a disciple of the Grass Division? But the reality is, aren't you still carefree in the outer sect and working hard to enter the inner sect? This? Lu Lihong's face turned pale as he sat back in his chair in a daze. Seeing this, Vice Hall Master Su struck while the iron was hot and said, Everyone thinks that you're a person with good fortune. Of course, this is true. Others enter the Yulon Grand Canyon to pick herbs that are decades old. You, on the other hand, pick ginseng that is hundreds of years old. Everyone says that you're a genius. And this old man doesn't deny that you're really a genius. Just by relying on the inner sex cultivation method, you were able to cultivate to a very high level. Unfortunately, how could the threshold of an inner sect disciple be so easy to cross? If it was easy, then there's no need to talk about others. Even Chen Feng Xiao and Wu Zhouxu were not much worse than you. How could they fail? I don't need to say these words anymore. Lu Lihong's face was now ashen. In this short period of time, the expression on his face changed very quickly. It could be seen that deep in his heart, there were a lot of emotions. Vice Hall Master Su squinted his eyes and said, "As long as there are people, there will be Jianghu. Although the incense order is a paradise, it is not a pure land. Don't forget, you yourself are an example. If I hadn't warned Vice Hall Master Peng in advance to be merciful, how could you have passed the outer sex test so easily? I know you were not convinced at that time, and you also spent a lot of effort to pass the assessment. But later on, when you entered the outer sect, did you realize that the martial arts of those senior brothers who assessed you back then was much higher than yours?" Lu Lihong's face was slightly bloodshot. He said in a hoarse voice, "I know. At that time, Vice Hall Master Peng had already explained it to me. Those senior brothers didn't say anything. That's true. Our fragrant order has strict rules. Occasionally doing such a thing would make people tremble with fear. Of course, it's also because you've worked hard and your martial arts are really good. That's why others can't see through you. All these years, those senior brothers who tested you didn't cause you any trouble, did they? No, everything seems to be real. If Vice Hall Master Peng had not pointed it out, I wouldn't have known that it was Vice Hall Master Su's grace." Then Vice Hall Master Su said, "Do you know why I chose you back then?" "I don't know. I've always wanted to ask. Let's not talk about the others. Chen Feng Xiao and Wu Zhouxu are both good at martial arts. They are stronger than me. Why didn't you choose them? It's very simple. Because you took out the 100-year-old ginseng and received the internal strength cultivation method from the inner sect. If you took the internal strength cultivation method from the inner sect and passed the test of the outer sect and became an outer sect disciple, even if others felt that your martial arts were a little weak or doubted the process of the test, wouldn't they have to consider the influence of the inner sect? Besides, even if the people in the inner sect knew about it, wouldn't your 100-year-old ginseng be enough to protect you?" Lu Lihong was a little angry. He struggled and said, "But if you didn't intervene, I could still enter the outer sect after a few more years of practice." Vice Hall Master Su chuckled and said, "Well, let me ask you first. You've practiced in the Wuming Hall for so many years. Why do you still feel that you can't pass the test of the outer sect? The Wuming Hall only takes care of its own disciples since childhood. They don't care about me, a disciple who joined halfway. They treat me unfairly. How can I be better than them? Of course, there is unfairness. But can you deny that the Wuming Hall didn't give you any guidance when you practiced your internal strength and other martial arts?" Lu Lihong was a little tongue-tied. After thinking for a while, he said frankly, "They didn't. If I had any questions, Senior Brother Chuan Gong would tell me everything he knew." Vice Hall Master Su clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Although I can't give you all the fairness, in terms of martial arts, you are not worse than other disciples in the Wuming Hall." Lu Lihong really didn't expect that Vice Hall Master Su would take care of him when he practiced in the Wuming Hall. Could it be true? Vice Hall Master Su ignored Lu Lihong and continued, "Since you have practiced in the Wuming Hall for so many years, your martial arts cultivation is just so. What if you didn't join the outer sect and just stayed in the pill-expanding hall? Are you sure you can pass the outer sect test and enter the Wuming Hall?" Lu Lihong was speechless again. It was true. After all, the outer sect test was complicated. Not only did the Wuming Hall test the disciples' martial arts, but there were also some strange places to test their temperament and aptitude. If he hadn't been warned by some outer sect disciples in advance, he wouldn't be sure that he could pass the test even now. Therefore, Lu Lihong had to say in a low voice, "If so, I have to thank Vice Hall Master Su for giving me a fair environment to practice martial arts." "Well, good." Vice Hall Master Su was very satisfied and said with a smile, "In fact, I chose you because you have these very coincidental conditions. What I value more is your character of being grateful. Do you still remember the conflict between you and Qinfeng Xiao?" "I remember. I just couldn't stand Qinfeng Xiao teaching the disciples of the Rejuvenation Valley a lesson. That's why I had a conflict with him." "Well, that's right. The other disciples of the Rejuvenation Valley avoided Qinfeng Xiao. Only you stood up. Although you didn't fight, it's enough to show that you are grateful to the Rejuvenation Valley. You are a rare good boy." "I don't dare. I was young and frivolous. If Vice Hall Master Su didn't happen to pass by, I would have been beaten up by Qinfeng Xiao. Ha ha ha, isn't this fate between you and me? If I didn't know you, how could I be an outer sect disciple today?" "Alas, nephew, you don't have to sigh. Think about it. With Qinfeng Xiao's fiery temper and ungrateful character, how could I let him enter the outer sect? Maybe after he enters the outer sect today, he will forget about me tomorrow. Maybe he will even make mistakes for me. Although I'm not afraid of this, it's still troublesome. Actually, senior brother Qin is also a hot-blooded man." Vice Hall Master Su waved his hand. "What hot-blooded man? It's all nonsense. What I want is a disciple who is loyal to me, not someone like him. There are plenty of people like him in the Pill Tower Hall. As for Wu Zhouxiu, with his image, he can only stay on Tianmu Peak and face off against Qinfeng Xiao. If he is sent to Wuming Hall, I will lose face for no reason." Lu Lihong was dumbfounded. He didn't know if he should be thankful for his good looks or blame his good looks. Although Wu Zhouxiu wasn't tall, his looks were average. Looking at him standing on Tianmu Peak, his leadership skills weren't bad either. But all of this was nothing in the eyes of Vice Hall Master Su. Just because his image wasn't good, his future was ruined. How sad. I've already answered your question. I think you know the pros and cons. My request just now isn't too complicated. Have you thought about it?" Hearing Vice Hall Master Su's questioning, Lu Lihong still hesitated. "Vice Hall Master Su, if you have any orders, I won't dare to slack off. But we will spread the rules of the incense sect." Before Lu Lihong finished, Vice Hall Master Su waved his hand. "Rules? After talking for so long, you're still thinking about that broken rule. This old man can guarantee that there's absolutely no problem with this matter. Why don't you think about it? Even if you complete this matter, who would know that it was you who did it? Are you the head disciple of Wuming Hall or an intersect disciple? Don't forget that you are now under my care. In the future, I don't need to use any tricks. I only need to make it clear to Vice Hall Master Peng so that he will no longer treat you differently. I don't need to tell you about your situation. I believe you know it yourself." After he finished speaking, he took out a jade bottle from his bosom and placed it on the table, saying, "This is a jade rejuvenation pill. Consider it your reward for helping me for the first time. In the future, whenever this old man has something to trouble you with, I will give you an appropriate reward according to the difficulty of the matter. This jade rejuvenation pill is just a new pill that this old man can take out. I believe that nephew already has an idea of how many pills there are in the inner sect. This old man has all of these pills. If you help this old man in the future, I will not treat you unfairly." Hearing Deputy Hall Chief Su's words, Lu Lihong looked at the jade bottle on the table with greedy eyes. He closed his eyes and pondered for a long time. Then, he secretly gritted his teeth. What this old man wants to do is not too difficult. He even wants to give me a jade elixir as a reward. He must be testing me. But if I take this as an example, I will definitely be rewarded handsomely if I work for him in the future. Forget it, forget it. A man's ambition is limited by his poverty. I still have to live under his roof. After thinking about it, he lowered his head and said, "Vice Hall Master Su is so generous and has treated me so well. How can I not agree? Good, good. That's good." As he said that, he waved his hand and the jade bottle floated to Lu Lihong. Seeing this, Lu Lihong's eyes revealed a look of admiration. This kind of pure internal strength was not something that he could compete with. Lu Lihong took the jade bottle and said, I don't deserve it. Vice Hall Master Su, this matter hasn't been settled yet. I don't deserve this pill. Vice Hall Master Su waved his hand in a magnanimous manner and said, It's fine. I'm not worried about you. Just take it. I believe you can handle it well. All right, thank you for your trust, Vice Hall Master Su. I can only accept it, but… Vice Hall Master Su smiled and said, You don't have to worry about anything else. I will take care of it. Once you do it, I will naturally know. Lu Lihong nodded and smiled apologetically. I understand. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. All right, go ahead. Go and prepare for the trial. Lu Lihong was overjoyed. -3. Chapter 597. A blazing sun hung high in the southeast. Above the sea of clouds, a small sword was shuttling back and forth in the air. It was as if the small sword had a mind of its own. Just as the small sword was shuttling through the air, 2 light red rings suddenly descended from the sky and swiftly wrapped around the small sword. In an instant, the small sword seemed to have lost its vitality and fell rapidly. But just as it fell 3 feet, the 2 rings suddenly trembled and flew up into the sky, landing directly into a cave on a nearby mountain peak. Then, a tall young man dressed in a green robe walked out, holding the jade ring and small sword that had just entered the cave. Standing at the entrance of the cave, he looked down at the jade ring in his hand and then looked up at the pure white sea of clouds. His eyes were full of expectation. This person was Zhang Xiaohua, who was practicing alchemy on Tianmu Peak. Zhang Xiaohua had already memorized the flying sword manual from the jade water sword, but she had never had the time to practice it. Now that she had some free time to refine the bone coagulation pill, she used her divine sense to instruct the small sword to practice above the sea of clouds. At the end of the practice, Zhang Xiaohua had an idea and took out the refined dragon binding ring, wanting to test its power. As expected, although the small sword was very nimble, wherever Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense reached, the dragon binding ring also followed. The small sword actually had no place to dodge. Of course, this was because Zhang Xiaohua was operating the 2 things herself, so it was inevitable that she was experimenting. But even so, it was still quite powerful. At this moment, Zhang Xiaohua was looking at the sea of clouds, thinking about the imperial wind technique that she had been practicing for 10 days. In these 10 days, Zhang Xiaohua practiced in the pill room when she had the time while refining pills. Now, she had just started practicing. According to the jade slip, once she practiced the imperial wind technique, she would be able to fly in the air and ride the wind. But with her current cultivation, she really didn't dare to jump out of this cave and step into the sea of clouds. If I can step on these continuous white clouds and ride the wind, I'm afraid my cultivation would be like that of an immortal. Zhang Xiaohua sighed with emotion. Moreover, after the imperial wind technique, there's the flight technique. How much people yearn for it. I suddenly thought of something. The 19 fragrant peaks are so far apart that it's difficult to even communicate with each other. Could it be that during the Immortal Tao, the various peaks relied on flying techniques to move around? In an instant, Zhang Xiaohua seemed to see a scene of light shooting in all directions. OMG, Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, What are you talking about? How can I believe in the ranger biography? Even if I can master the flight technique, the journey from here to Shishing Peak is more than 10 days. How can my true chi be enough? Sigh, I wonder if I'll be able to see second brother's figure on Shishing Peak. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua wished she could grow a pair of wings and fly to Shishing Peak. Calm down, calm down. Haste makes waste. As long as I'm in fragrant religion, I'll get the news of second brother sooner or later. Zhang Xiaohua comforted herself slowly. She knew that even if she could enter Wuming Hall and become an outer disciple, she would not have the opportunity to enter Shishing Peak. On the contrary, she would fall into the eyes of some people, which would cause a certain difficulty in her actions. I, Xiaoxia, will never do things that make a fool of myself, Zhang Xiaohua said to herself. It's getting late. Let's see the elixir in the furnace. This is the first batch of elixir refined with the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. It must be successful. At least it'll be the best. Zhang Xiaohua went into the elixir room. Inside the elixir room, there was a faint medicinal fragrance. The earth fire under the elixir furnace was burning fiercely. The true samadhi fire in the elixir furnace was getting brighter and brighter. It surrounded the elixir liquid and burned it. The elixir liquid that was rotating very fast earlier gradually stopped and only rotated faintly. Zhang Xiaohua went to the elixir room and penetrated her divine sense into the elixir furnace. Seeing the elixir liquid, she was relieved. The 8 trigrams purple gold furnace was indeed a good thing. Just by looking at the rotation of the elixir liquid and the formation outside the elixir liquid, Zhang Xiaohua knew that the bone solidifying elixir only took 10 days to be refined. It was 3 days less than refining the pulse-nourishing elixir. In the process of refining the elixir, the changes of the elixir liquid were even more different than before. The elixir of the bone-solidifying elixir was mixed together at the beginning like the pulse-nourishing elixir. The elixir of the 5 elements was mixed together, and the elixir of the 5 elements was gradually formed into a mature elixir. However, from the second day onwards, the elixir of the 5 elements gradually became distinct and formed the shape of 2 small fish. Their heads and tails were connected and mixed together. The rotation of the elixir liquid was like 2 fish chasing each other. What made Zhang Xiaohua the most dumbfounded was that at the point where the 2 fish touched, there was actually a faint starlight. The starlight faintly showed signs of flowing, surrounding the 2 fish and constantly rotating. However, the starlight was so subtle that Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense could not see it clearly. However, for the 2 different elixirs, Zhang Xiaohua had a little idea in her heart. Within the heavenly way, Zhang Xiaohua knew that other than the Tao of the 5 elements, there was also the Tao of life and death, which was the Tao of yin and yang in Qi Huang. When these 2 different elixirs were first formed, Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense had also observed some clues. On one side of the elixir was the fragrant soulwood, refined in the Qin furnace, as well as the elixir from the Qian furnace, Zhen furnace, and vibration furnace. On the other side, the elixir was the iron bone grass, refined in the exchange furnace, as well as the elixir from the Kuan furnace, Sun furnace, and Li furnace. In other words, the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace's 8 trigrams could also be divided into 2, yin and yang. As the process of forming the elixir progressed, a small dot gradually appeared in the 2 fish-shaped elixirs, just like a fish's eye. The elixir in this small dot was the essence of the other elixir. These small dots of elixir were also wrapped in starlight. This made Zhang Xiaohua ponder deeply. Yin and yang were opposites, mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. A solitary yang would not give birth, and a solitary yin would not grow. Only with yang and yin and yang could it be the Tao of all things. And this elixir also went from medicinal herbs to elixir, from elixir to elixir, from elixir to elixir, from elixir to elixir, from elixir to elixir. It was precisely within the harmony of yin and yang, from nothing to something. This realization was akin to a bolt of lightning in Zhang Xiaohua's Tao heart, illuminating the heavenly Tao in Zhang Xiaohua's Tao heart. At that time, Zhang Xiaohua immediately sat down on the ground, no longer caring about the precious bone condensation pill in the cauldron in front of her, and directly comprehended this rare enlightenment. Before entering secluded meditation, Zhang Xiaohua habitually held the vitality stone in her hand. Fortunately, Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation was still shallow. Although she was comprehending the heavenly Tao, it only took her 3 days to awaken from her secluded meditation. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation had taken a huge step forward, from the peak of the 6th layer of qi refining to the 7th layer of qi refining. However, a lot of the vitality in the vitality stone had been absorbed. Of the 18 layers of the Carefree Heart Sutra, the first 6 layers were for the initial stage of qi refining. As long as one could step into the threshold of qi refining and absorb enough vitality of heaven and earth, their cultivation would improve. From the 7th layer onwards, the role of one's temperament was highlighted. Progress at this time could not be made up by pure vitality of heaven and earth. Only when one's comprehension of the Heart Sutra made a breakthrough could one enter the next layer of cultivation. Zhang Xiaohua had already reached the peak of the 6th layer of qi refining when she was concocting pills in Rejuvenation Valley. However, the transition from the 6th layer to the 7th layer of qi refining was the transition from the initial stage of qi refining to the middle stage of qi refining. It was also the transition from quantitative cultivation to comprehension of the Heart Sutra. It was the most difficult transition. When the Tao of Immortality was flourishing, who knew how many heavenly prodigies had broken through the threshold of qi refining, but they were stumped by this transition in comprehension, and their cultivation stagnated at the initial stage of qi refining for the rest of their lives. This could be considered the second great challenge of the Tao of Immortality. Now that Zhang Xiaohua had obtained the 8 trigrams violet gold furnace, she had witnessed a new method of concocting pills. She had introduced the theory of the 8 trigrams into the 5 elements, and when she was gestating the pill, she had combined the yin and yang of the Tao of Heaven, gaining a deep understanding of how yin and yang nurtured all living things. This understanding directly pushed her understanding of the Tao of Heaven to a new level. Furthermore, she held a vitality stone in her hand, so her meridians very naturally drew a vast amount of vitality from the primal stones into her body. According to the Carefree Heart Sutra, her cultivation directly rose from the initial stage of qi refining to the middle stage of qi refining. This improvement seemed accidental, but it was actually inevitable. Zhang Xiaohua comprehended the Tao of Heaven every day, absorbing the vitality from the vitality stones every night, and cultivating the Carefree Heart Sutra. She was accumulating every day, and with the accumulation of time, it was only a matter of time before she went from quantitative to qualitative. The gestating process of the 8 trigrams violet gold furnace was merely a catalyst. Of course, after emerging from closed-door cultivation, Zhang Xiaohua didn't have the time to check her cultivation. Instead, she hurriedly sent her spiritual sense into the furnace to check the medicinal liquid. Fortunately, apart from the tiny bit of medicinal liquid that had expanded countless times, almost half the size of the fish outside, there weren't many other changes. Only then did she check her cultivation and discover that she had actually advanced to the middle stage of qi refining. This made Zhang Xiaohua overjoyed. She immediately circulated her true qi through her brand new meridians a few more times. Only after she was completely familiar with it did she stop. In the next few days, it was the crucial moment for gestating the pill. Other than practicing the levitation technique and comprehending the Tao of Heaven, Zhang Xiaohua didn't dare to distract herself with other matters. She even temporarily stopped practicing talismans and formations, afraid that she would enter closed-door cultivation again and miss the best opportunity to form the pill. As a matter of fact, after practicing her sword technique and testing the dragon-binding hoop for a bit, Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly returned to the furnace. At this moment, of the 2 fish-shaped medicinal liquids, the other type of medicinal liquid was almost as much as the previous type of medicinal liquid, each taking up half. Simply speaking, the composition of the 2 clumps of medicinal liquid was basically the same. There was only a slight difference. And this trace of medicinal liquid was all gathered at the edge of the 2 clumps of medicinal liquid, wrapped together by faint starlight. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua's expression turned solemn. He took a deep breath and circulated his true qi to his fingers. Both of his hands formed a series of hand seals and sent the final spell of the pill nurturing technique into the medicinal liquid. As the spell was sent in, the faint red true samadhi fire drilled into the medicinal liquid and burned toward the edges of the medicinal liquid. -3. Chapter 598. Now it was the end of the gestation period. A layer of array outside the medicinal liquid had gradually formed. Under the observation of Zhang Xiaohua's divine thought, the wisp of samadhi true fire burned along the boundary of the 2 medicinal liquids. The medicinal liquid boiled for a while, like water poured into hot oil. Zhang Xiaohua knew that this was the last moment of gestation. She didn't dare to be careless. She launched another technique. She only felt that a lot of the true qi in her body was drawn out at once. As the technique was launched, it slowly pushed the medicinal liquid that had been still. The starlight on the edge gradually spread between the two medicinal liquids with the burning of the samadhi true fire. The medicinal liquid gradually rotated. Zhang Xihua's divine thought also slowly couldn't see the movement inside. After a while, the entire medicinal liquid expanded and contracted. It even shook a little. Zhang Xihua's heart skipped a beat. Immediately, the rotation that Zhang Xiahua pushed with the technique also stopped. The entire medicinal liquid was quietly suspended in the center of the 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. The Samadhi true fire that was still vivid just now also disappeared without a trace at this time. Zhang Xiahua also stood there quietly. She swept her divine thought again. At this time, the medicinal liquid was completely invisible. The gestation period had been completed. However, at the end of gestation, Zhang Xiaohua's true qi in her body was consumed a lot. Thinking of the true qi used in the beginning to quench the liquid, Zhang Xiaohua didn't dare to rush to pull the pill. Instead, she sat cross-legged and took out the vitality stone to replenish the true qi in her body. Now that Zhang Xiaohua was already at the intermediate stage of the qi refining realm, the speed of absorbing the true qi in the vitality stone had greatly increased. In just a moment, it was finished replenishing. Putting away the vitality stone, Zhang Xiaohua slightly recalled the technique to pull the pill. The corner of her eyes slightly shrank. She launched the technique. Following the launch of the technique, some true qi was drawn out. The entire medicinal liquid swelled and a thumb-sized green medicinal pill appeared in the air beside it. It was exactly as described in the pill formula. Zhang Xiaohua was overjoyed. She continued to launch the technique. Although the true qi in her body was consumed relatively quickly, Zhang Xiaohua didn't have time to replenish her true qi when she saw more and more bone-solidifying pills. Anyway, each time she refined pills, she could only pull out 9 pills. It wasn't enough to exhaust the true qi in Zhang Xiaohua's body. However, things were beyond Zhang Xiaohua's expectations. When she launched the technique for the 10th time into the medicinal liquid and waited for the bone-solidifying pill byproduct, she shockingly discovered that the 10th bone-solidifying pill was also pulled out. Eh? What's going on? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but feel puzzled. However, since she could pull out more medicinal pills, Zhang Xiaohua was naturally overjoyed. Estimating the true qi in her body, Zhang Xiaohua continued to pull out 18 bone-solidifying pills in a row. Looking at the endless medicinal liquid left, Zhang Xiaohua understood something in her heart. Without hesitation, she launched the last technique. Sure enough, there was a series of crisp sounds. The last medicinal liquid was pulled out into a medicinal pill that was a lot smaller than the bone-solidifying pill. It was a little yellow. Upon closer inspection, it was 70% similar to the small bone-solidifying pill that Zhang Xiaohua saw previously. Zhang Xiaohua nodded her head slightly and took out a few jade bottles. Her hand formed a technique and pointed her finger. The opening of the kun furnace opened, and with a wave of her hand, the 18 bone-solidifying pills flew into the few jade bottles. Following that, Zhang Xiaohua cast a seal on the jade bottles and carefully kept them in her purse. Only then did she look at the 7 or 8 small bone-solidifying pills at the bottom of the furnace. Previously, Zhang Xiaohua didn't examine the small bone-solidifying pill in detail. At this time, when she took out one to examine it carefully, she couldn't help but frown slightly. This small bone-solidifying pill was extremely similar to the previous one. It was just that the color was slightly darker and the medicinal smell was much lighter. It was far from the previous medicinal fragrance that assailed her nostrils. When she looked at it, it was the same as the crimson flame pill that Zhang Xiaohua refined previously. There was a faint starlight. What's going on? Could it be that there's a mistake in my refining method? Zhang Xiaohua frowned and carefully thought about the refining process from beginning to end. she still had no clue. AI, forget it. When I refined the basic medicinal pills, there were no such problems. Why would there be a mistake when I refined the low-level medicinal pills? However, the color, smell, and other aspects of this medicinal pill should have been refined successfully. There shouldn't be any problems in the entire process. Oh, the Meridian Nourishing Pill only produced 9 medicinal pills last time. This time, it actually produced 18. It should be because of the amount of medicinal herbs. Even if it's a basic medicinal pill, if the medicinal herbs in the pill formula are complete and the quantity is sufficient, it should be able to produce more than 9 medicinal pills. Thinking about it, it was very reasonable. When Zhang Xiaohua was refining pills in the Rejuvenation Valley, she used very few medicinal herbs each time. It was far less generous than this time, where she put the whole medicinal herb into the pill furnace at once. Moreover, in the pill formula of the bone solidifying pill, there were more than 10 main ingredients. It was normal for her to be able to refine 18 medicinal pills. If there were only 9 pills, then Zhang Xiaohua had skimped on the job. Zhang Xiaohua took out a jade bottle and put the remaining small bone solidifying pill into the jade bottle. Suddenly, she thought of another question. In the Rejuvenation Valley, the byproduct of the Meridian Nourishing Pill was called Crimson Flame Pill. Why didn't the byproduct of the Bone Solidifying Pill have other names? Why was it directly called Small Bone Solidifying Pill? Then Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "Who cares what it's called? It's just a mark. I wonder if my Small Bone Solidifying Pill is better than the Small Bone Solidifying Pill of the incense cult?" Unfortunately, there was no one to verify this question for her. After putting away the bone solidifying pills, Zhang Xiaohua looked at the empty pill furnace and thought for a moment. Then, she cast a few incantations into the furnace. The earth fire under the pill furnace became a little smaller, but it still slowly heated the pill furnace. Then, Zhang Xiaohua checked the true qi in her body. She couldn't help but be shocked. She had just advanced to the middle stage of the aura refining realm, so the amount of true qi in her body was a lot more than before. However, this simple pill-pulling process consumed more than half of the true qi in her body. If she was still in the early stage of the aura refining realm, she reckoned she wouldn't even be able to pull out all the true qi in her body. Alas, the middle stage of the aura refining realm isn't enough. This is only a low-level medicinal pill. What if it's a mid-level or high-level medicinal pill? Even the amount of true qi needed to refine the medicine wouldn't be enough. The path of cultivation seems to have just begun. Zhang Xiaohua sighed inwardly and took out another primordial stone. This small primordial stone seemed to have been used too frequently. After replenishing her true qi, Zhang Xiaohua simply didn't keep the primordial stone. Instead, she took it with her hands. With a twist of her body, she escaped to the outside of the cave. When she started refining the bone solidifying pills, Zhang Xiaohua spent nearly half a day putting the medicinal herbs into the pill furnace to refine the liquid. Pulling out the pills took even more time. At this time, it was already late at night. However, at this time, the moon was dark and the wind was strong. It was the best time to kill, it was the best time to practice the Imperial Wind technique. Zhang Xiaohua released her divine sense. Seeing that there was no one around, she immediately made an incantation with her hands and transferred her true qi to her legs. Then, her body flew up a little crookedly, faintly carrying the Imperial Wind technique. She directly flew into the darkness in the distance. During this period of refining pills, Zhang Xiaohua went to work in the medicinal fields early in the morning. The rest of the time, she stayed in the pill room to familiarize herself with the Imperial Wind technique. When night fell, when Bai Huan and Zhou Shuming both went back, she came out of the pill room and practiced the levitation technique on Tianmu Peak. The west side of Tianmu Peak belonged to the pill department of the pill expansion hall. At night, there were usually people watching over the pill furnaces that were refining pills. The east side belonged to the pill department of the pill expansion hall. It was all medicinal fields and forests. At night, there were no traces of people. Hence, Zhang Xiaohua could practice on the east side. Now that she had practiced for more than 10 days, Zhang Xiaohua could already reach the threshold of Imperial Wind technique. Her figure floating in the night sky indeed had a hint of immortality. However, although she was already in the middle stage of qi refining, her true qi was not enough to refine pills, let alone Imperial Wind technique. What was even more hateful was that the qi of heaven and earth was so thin that it was not enough for her to absorb, let alone support this Imperial Wind technique that looked like an immortal. Zhang Xiaohua could only hold on to the qi in her hands and try to absorb it into her body with all her might. At the same time, she performed the adorable yet hateful Imperial Wind technique. Like a gust of wind, she left a faint shadow on the east side of Tianmu Peak. Flying to a low-lying area, Zhang Xiaohua was a little tired. Just as she was about to stop, her divine sense suddenly discovered two figures beside the forest in the distance. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to be negligent. She immediately descended from the sky. Before she landed, she made an incantation with her hands and directly burrowed into the ground. She did not want to be seen through. When she poked her head out again, she was already at the roots of a tree 10 feet away. The two people beside the forest did not seem to notice anything unusual, and were only whispering to each other. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua did not care and was about to escape. However, just as she was about to turn around, she suddenly realized that it was already too late. The disciples of the Grass Division were not this diligent. There must be something fishy going on. She did not know what they were up to. However, in her divine sense, the two people's faces were unfamiliar, as if she had never seen them before. Could it be, since she was curious, Zhang Xiaohua quietly went to the place where the two people were talking. She found an inconspicuous stone, and poked her head out to eavesdrop on their conversation. One of them said, "Senior Hu, this is the territory of the Grass Division. It's better to be careful and not be discovered." Senior Hu smiled and said, "Junior Qian, don't worry. The people of the Grass Division have already returned. Who else would be in this wilderness? Caution is the parent of safety. We can't not be on guard. If someone sees our Grass Division's territory, it will be hard to explain. No wonder Lord Spring Equinox often praises you and says that you are a promising talent. He even told us to learn from you. Lord Spring Equinox is too kind. This one is just a little more careful. All right, let's not talk too much." This time, more than 10 outsiders came to the pill opening hall. "Did you notice anyone from the sect?" "Senior Hu, the people who came this time were quite scattered. Our Tianmu Peak is famous for being difficult to mix in. Who would come here? There are only a few apprentices who refine pills. This one has already seen them. None of them are our brothers." -3. Chapter 599. What about the disciples from the other peaks? I've also taken the opportunity to go to the other peaks. The situation was the same. The new disciples turned a blind eye to the secret hand signals of the sect. I don't think they're among them. Eh? That's strange. The sect sends people here every 10 years. Why didn't they send anyone this year? The two were silent for a while. Senior Brother Hu continued. Oh right, recently there was a medicine boy from Rejuvenation Valley in our Tianmu Peak's Grass Division. His martial arts are very strong. Could it be? I've already thought of this. After the bet, I tried to show him the hand signals. He didn't feel it at all, so it shouldn't be him. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. Based on his tone, this junior brother Qian should be from the pill department. When did someone from the pill department give her a hand signal? Why didn't she have any impression of it? Looking at his arrogant appearance, he might not be from the sect. How could he reveal his strong martial arts and be so close to Chenfeng Xiao as soon as he arrived at Tianmu Peak? But junior brother Qian, there aren't any suitable candidates for the pill department's medicine boy. I think you should go take a look at the medicine boys from the Grass Division. Maybe the sect changed their direction this year and started from Rejuvenation Valley. Senior Brother Hu is right. I think so too. If we start from the pill department every year, it's inevitable that we'll be exposed. It's inevitable that we'll try other methods. But we're disciples of the pill department, and can only guard Tianmu Peak. If we go to the other peaks to find the grass division disciples, there won't be many opportunities. It's only because Tianmu Peak is a bit chaotic that Lord Spring Equinox let us stay here. If it were the other peaks, it might be inconvenient to move around. Lord Spring Equinox is wise. Oh right, senior brother, did any of our brothers enter the other halls this year? Lord Spring Equinox didn't say, so I don't know. But we're all spies in the fragrant cult. Most of our contacts are one way. Lord Spring Equinox might not let us know. The sect has been scheming for many years. Although the fragrant cult is content to stay in a remote corner, didn't we also sneak in? It's just that there's something strange about the way in and out of the incense-spreading cult. All information cannot be leaked out. Our people can only enter but not leave. That's right. It's extremely difficult to be an outer disciple, let alone pass the test and roam the Jianghu. Not only do you have to be strong in martial arts, but you also have to have a clean background. Disciples from outside are not allowed to go out. Therefore, we outer disciples are powerless even if we want to. Isn't that so? If not for that, Lord Spring Equinox would have been able to send a message. Why should we worry about it? Alright, let's not talk about it anymore. If you have time, you should go to the medicine boys of the grass division and find some time to interact with them. See if there are any of our people among them. Alright, please inform Lord Spring Equinox that I will definitely accomplish it. After saying that, the two of them looked left and right carefully. One went up, the other went down, heading straight to the west side of Tianmu Peak. After waiting for everyone to leave, Zhang Xiaohua stood up and rubbed his chin thoughtfully. It seems that these two must have been sent by the incense-spreading cult's enemies. Moreover, they must have been hiding in the incense-spreading cult for a long time. Every 10 years someone would enter. Could it be that Li Chang? Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaohua naturally thought of Valley Lord Nie's warning before they set off from Rejuvenation Valley. But how could he be sure that Li Chang was sent by someone else? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but frown. In fact, he had forgotten that when it came to unknown origins, his own origins were even more unknown than Li Chang's. After a while, Zhang Xiaohua said to himself, in any case, this incense-spreading cult is a big turtle shell. Once you enter, don't even think about leaving. Wait for me to find second brother's news and find a chance to capture Li Chang. Or that junior brother Qian. I'll know once I ask. Why bother hurting my brain? If he doesn't say anything, I'll just use my bewitching finger. What else can I not know? Saying this, Zhang Xiaohua released his divine sense and carefully looked. Then, he floated up and rode the wind to the top of Tianmu Peak. Speaking of the imperial wind technique, it was several times faster than Zhang Xiaohua's levitation technique. It didn't take long for him to reach the top of the mountain. The entire mountain was quiet. Even Bai Huan's little hut had long extinguished its lights. Zhang Xiaohua first walked to the medicine field and found the seeds that he watered with spring water rich in vitality every day. The seeds were the same as before. There were no signs of germination. However, the seeds seemed to be absorbing vitality. These few seeds had much stronger vitality fluctuations than the others. Then, Zhang Xiaohua returned to the cave and set up the restriction. He returned to the pill room. In the pill room, the earth fire was still burning, warming the pill furnace on top. Zhang Xiaohua took out the futon and sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace. Holding the vitality stones in his hand, he did his routine homework every night. In the next month or so, Zhang Xiaohua, in addition to working in the fields, spent most of his time in the alchemy room, refining the meridian nourishing pill, bone condensing pill, and so on again, harvesting a lot of pills. Moreover, according to the pill formula in the jade slip, he used a small alchemy furnace to refine some basic detoxification pills. Although refining these pills consumed a lot of medicinal herbs, compared to the medicinal herbs Zhang Xiaohua won in the last gambling fight, the amount was still very little. In addition to refining pills, Zhang Xiaohua still spent a lot of time comprehending the way of heaven. This was a skill that could not be seen in a short time. After Zhang Xiaohua advanced to the middle stage of the qi refining realm, the rabbit talisman in her mud pill palace improved again. She gradually comprehended them one by one. Now, she had nearly 200 rabbit talismans. In addition to these, the spirit traction technique seemed to have changed and began to slowly improve again. What made Zhang Xiaohua most gratified was the imperial wind technique. Zhang Xiaohua seemed to have a unique talent for the levitation technique and the imperial wind technique. Since she touched the threshold of the imperial wind technique, she could not stop. She practiced the imperial wind technique that she did not even dare to think about before to a proficient level. She only lacked abundant qi of heaven and earth. Otherwise, she could really fly with the wind like the way of immortals. Among them, there was also a gambling battle on Tianmu Peak. However, Zhang Xiaohua still used his previous level of martial arts. Under Chen Fengxiao's arrangement, he won 2 victories and won a few bottles of insignificant pills. Now, his limelight on Tianmu Peak was faintly showing signs of surpassing the 6 great arhats. If it were not for the fact that Zhang Xiaohua only worked on Tianmu Peak and never appeared in front of the disciples of the pill-expanding hall and Chen Fengxiao had already instructed not to disturb him, Zhang Xiaohua would have attracted the attention of all the disciples wherever he went. It seemed that everything was going according to the normal trajectory, and also according to Zhang Xiaohua's expectations. Even Zhou Shuming's surveillance was gradually reduced. Wu Zhouxiu should also be slowly relieved. On this day, the sun was shining brightly. Far away in the exquisite little courtyard of Lingxiang Peak, by the lotus pond, Peacock was talking to Qingqian about something. There was a strange expression on Peacock's face. She stared at the surface of the lotus pond and seemed to be lost in thought. Qingqian looked at her from the side and endured. Finally, he opened his mouth and said, "Senior sister, say something. You've been in closed-door training for dozens of days. It's rare to see you come out. When I came to see you, you made a clay Buddha statue and didn't say a word." When Peacock heard this, she laughed out loud and said, "Junior sister even knows about clay Buddha statues. You've gained a lot from this trip. Well, I thought you wouldn't say anything." Qingqian curled his lips and said, "Actually, it's nothing. I didn't go out and wanted to go out. But when I went out, I saw a bunch of boring people. There was really no meaning in going out. Sai, why didn't I encounter something as interesting as Ren Xiaoyao?" Hearing these 3 words, Peacock's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She said uneasily, "Haha, if you're willing, I'll let you go to Carefree City next time. Maybe you'll meet him. Hee, that guy has been sent to the pill hall. Where would there be a second Ren Xiaoyao? Right, I don't know how that kid is doing in Baiwa Peak." This? Peacock's heart skipped a beat. To tell the truth, she had always felt that she did not have any feelings for this ordinary young man that she had only met a few times. However, the words of Abbess Jingfan last time, and her firm affirmation, and the face that appeared in her mind from time to time when she was in closed-door training, she had begun to doubt her own feelings. Could this be fate bestowed by the heavens? So that you can't forget him? She did not dare to answer Qingqian's words. She frowned slightly and said, "Who knows, he's just a medicine boy. If he were to be placed in Baiwa Peak, it would be like a drop of water falling into a lotus pond. It's impossible to see him." When she said this, she felt a burst of annoyance for no reason. She casually flicked her finger and changed the topic, saying, "Right, didn't you want to go to the Yulon Grand Canyon? Master has already agreed. Why don't you hurry up and prepare? I remember that the disciples who were patrolling the mountain last time had already found the restriction loosening. Maybe the time to enter the valley will be brought forward." "Haha." Qingqian laughed out loud, holding Peacock's arm and said, "Thank you for your concern, senior sister. However, Master has already told me that this year's Yulon Dusk refinement will be brought forward by a lot. I estimate that we will be able to enter in a few days. I have already come to find senior sister and wanted to ask for some experience. Unfortunately, senior sister has been in closed-door training." "Oh, so that's the case." Why didn't you say so earlier? I will tell you roughly now. Without waiting for Peacock to speak, Chinchin said. No need, senior sister. I have already asked the other senior sisters and have a rough idea in my heart. Oh, that's good. Although there are a lot of dangers in the Yulon Grand Canyon, those are for the outer disciples and other ordinary disciples. We inner disciples basically don't have to worry about it. As long as we pay a little attention, I have nothing to say to you. The last time I entered the valley, except for a leopard, I did not encounter anything. And right, you have a carefree personality. There are some things that you should consider carefully. -3. Chapter 600. I know, Senior. Shinshin held Peacock's arm and smiled. I'm not going alone this time. I can't be careless. When we enter the valley, the inner disciples will be together. Once we're in the valley, we'll have to separate. Don't be careless. Hee, I know. But this time, I have a tale. Eh? What do you mean? Peacock was confused. Hey, do you still remember Master Jingyi's female disciple? I know. What do you mean, she's going to follow you into the valley? Are you kidding me? She's only been in the inner sect for a few years? Although she's cultivated with Master Jingyi, but how is she qualified for this Valley Orchid Dusk? That's right, senior sister is right. I don't know how she reported it to Martial Uncle Sect Leader, but he actually agreed. The worst thing is, Martial Uncle Sect Leader said that I have a bad temper and was afraid that something would happen to me inside, so he asked me to take care of her. He even said that my martial arts cultivation is high and I can protect her. Don't you think it's funny? Is that so? Peacock said. Since Master Jingyi has already spoken, there's no point in you refusing. Actually, Master Jingyi is right. You two can learn from each other's strengths and complement each other. Chinchin pouted and said, I'm not familiar with her. What's so interesting about that? Moreover, I'm going to the valley to look for opportunities, not to be a nanny. If I bring her along, how can I be at ease? Hee. Peacock chuckled. That's your problem. If you weren't famous for being careless, how could Master Jingyi find you? Sigh, that child is also a pitiful person. If we don't help her, who else can? Only Senior is kind-hearted. Forget it, I'm just nagging you, don't take it to heart. I know, you're tough on the mouth but soft on the heart. You can't bear to see someone you're close to being bullied. Master Jingyi gave that child to you for the same reason. Eh? Senior sister, I only have this one shortcoming, and all of you have seen it so clearly. How am I supposed to live with myself in the future? Hee, don't be complacent. I don't know what you're thinking. Master has already told me. Although I went to the Yulon Grand Canyon 5 years ago, I still know where the good things are. I don't think the other senior sisters will tell you these things. Hee, that's right. I'm your junior sister. If you don't tell me, who else can you tell? Peacock glanced at her with annoyance, and told her about her last trip to the Yulon Grand Canyon, and the few hidden places she found. She did not forget to remind her. Yellow Wind and Black Lightning have not come out for a long time. Maybe they died of old age, or maybe they died of serious injuries. These are all guesses. It is better to be prepared. If you see any signs of trouble, it is better to run as far away as possible. I understand, Chinchin said disapprovingly. So many years have passed. Things that have disappeared without a trace can't possibly still exist in the world. Counting the actions of the sect master and the others, it should have been decades. Chinchin. To tell you the truth, don't let your guard down. The Yulon Grand Canyon is a mysterious area of our incense cult. Generations of sect masters and elders have attached great importance to it. But from the records of our cult, no one has been able to fully understand the canyon, not even the immortal seniors from 10,000 years ago. Moreover, the beasts in the canyon are all psychic creatures, not to mention the 2 legendary ones. If you don't take my words to heart, matey. Peacock did not finish her words. Chinchin smiled and said, I know, senior sister. No matter how stupid I am, it's impossible for me to not care about my own life. It's just that. I still have a burden with me. Tell me, how can I escape? Even if I meet the legendary fiend, I. Then, her smile turned into a bitter smile. Sigh, that's true. Peacock sighed. She could not understand why the sect master would agree to let an inner disciple who was not very good at martial arts enter the Yulon Grand Canyon. Then, Peacock clenched her teeth. Every man for himself. Although the sect master has entrusted her to you, you can only protect her to the extent of your ability. If you can't... Yes, senior sister, don't worry. I know this. Chin-Chin nodded her head in all seriousness, and then rebuked. Senior sister, when I went to the other senior sisters, didn't they all congratulate me for having the opportunity to enter the Yulon Grand Canyon? Only you nagged endlessly, as if as long as I entered I would encounter something. Children's words carry no harm. Children's words carry no harm. Peacock smiled and said, Look at what you're saying. On the Lingxiang Peak, Peacock and Chin-Chin had a deep sisterly relationship and had endless things to say. By what peak? Pill Expanding Hall, 100 Herb Hall. Elder Zishan sat at the head of the table, accompanied by Deputy Hall Master Su. Elder Zishan squinted his eyes and looked tired, as if he was thinking about something. Deputy Hall Master Su looked at him for a while and said in a low voice, Hall Master, if you have any difficulties, can I help you share the burden? Elder Zishan sighed, opened his eyes and said, Isn't it because of the Misty Hall? Alas, not only me, but the other hall masters are also scratching their heads. Forget it, there will be a way when the time comes. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Then, he thought of something and said, Right, I forgot to tell you that the prohibition of the Yulon Grand Canyon has been loosened. Perhaps the Yulon evening refinement will be brought forward a few days, and it's time to send disciples in. Think about it, choose suitable people from the grass sect and draw up a list. You've done this in the past, so it shouldn't be too late to tell me now, right? Hearing this, Deputy Hall Master Su was obviously stunned. Then, he took out a stack of paper and handed it to Elder Zishan, saying, Hall Master, you must have forgotten that you've told me about this earlier. At that time, the prohibition of the canyon had just loosened, and you wanted me to start early, so that I wouldn't be late to pick the herbs. Look, I've already drawn up the list of people entering the canyon. If you think it's suitable, I'll let my disciples inform them and make preparations in advance. When the time comes, they can enter. Anyway, we'll be the last to enter. Ah? Ha! Elder Zishan slapped his forehead and said, Look at my head. Now that you've said it, I do have some impression of it. Alas, it's all because of the matter at Shishing Peak. Then, he took the paper with the names written on it from Deputy Hall Master Su's hands. He glanced at it and said, Every time the Yulon evening refinement occurs, our Pill Expanding Hall will lose some medicine boys. This time, you have to choose better ones. It's best if they have some martial arts foundation. Don't let them become food when they encounter fierce beasts. Then, he casually handed the list to Deputy Hall Master Su. Deputy Hall Master Su took it and said respectfully, We can't help losing medicine boys. We grass sect disciples don't know martial arts and spend most of our time taking care of the medicine fields. It's really difficult to stand out on the path of martial arts. Even Heaven and Earth Hall and Cleansing Jade Hall also lose people every year. Yes, last year's Yulon evening refinement didn't seem to pick any good spiritual herbs, so the inner sect was a little unhappy. I hope the disciples who go in this time will have good luck. Haha, not every disciple is as lucky as Lu Lihong. However, this time, I will specially instruct a few disciples who are good at martial arts to pay more attention when they enter the valley. They will definitely make the hall master proud. Ha! Elder Zishan laughed. Do you think they are inner sect disciples who can enter and exit the Yulon Grand Canyon as if there is no one around? Let's let them save their own lives first before we talk about anything else. Yes, I know. Hall Master is merciful. This is something that everyone in the Pill Expanding Hall can see. Well, you can go and quickly distribute the list. Maybe tomorrow or the day after, there will be news from Lingering Fragrance Peak. Don't delay the Yulon evening refinement arrangement. Yes, I will immediately supervise this matter. Deputy Hall Master Su stood up and cupped his hands with a smile on his face. The Pill-expanding hall's subordinates were White Mountain Peak, Three Reeds Peak, Tianmu Peak, and Track Peak. Not long after, several disciples rode their horses and headed towards these peaks. In a hall on Tianmu Peak, Qin Feng of the Grass Division was eating and talking to Wu Zhouxiu of the Pill Division about the recent situation of Tianmu Peak. Wu Zhouxiu said, "Congratulations, Headmaster Qin. In this gambling fight, the Grass Division has won against the Pill Division again. In the future, the situation will be reversed." Qin Feng smiled and waved his hand. "Not at all. At most, it will be a draw. How can it be like before when we were suppressed by you guys?" After drinking a mouthful of tea, Wu Zhouxiu said, "It's your Grass Division's luck to have a medicine boy named Ren Xiaoyao from Rejuvenation Valley. His skills are comparable to our 3 guardian deities. Yes, this young man is not bad. His luck is also indescribable. Including the 3 matches in the first gambling fight, he has won 5 matches in a row. His harvest is not small. However, this is because he has just arrived. The brothers participating in the gambling fight are not too familiar with his fizz techniques. After a few more fights, it will not be so easy to win." "That is true. However, he is still young. There is a lot of room for improvement in the future. If he obtains a suitable martial arts cultivation method, he may be another Lu Lihong." "Haha, whether he is another Lu Lihong or not, it has nothing to do with us. Look at that Lu Lihong. Since he entered the outer sect, how many times has he returned to the Pill-expanding hall? Even our Tianmu Peak is the first time. If Ren Xiaoyao is also like this, it will not benefit us at all." Wu Zhouxiu shook his head. Looking at him, he does not look like a heartless person. Last time when Lu Lihong came with Yang Yao, he only recognized Yang Yao. Even if you introduced Lu Lihong first, he still bowed to Yang Yao first. "Yes, I know that. Otherwise, I would not accommodate him." "Haha, Zhou Shuming has been on Tianmu Peak for so long. Did you discover anything? What about you? Isn't Bai Huan with him every day? Did you discover anything?" "Ha!" The two of them laughed loudly, with a "you know what I mean" look on their faces. This gave the disciples who were rushing in a fright. -3. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.